Good morning, campers, and welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. I'm Tom Connors. With me, as always, is the boss man, Andre. How you doing?
I am doing excellent, and it's Friday. We have a great show for you all. It's very exciting times within Disney, and we have the perfect man to discuss it all with you in Kamran Pasha. How are you, Kamran?
I'm much better. As some of you may know, I was knocked out with a nasty flu for about a week, but I'm back on my feet. I'm delighted to be back here with my friends at Midnight's Edge to talk about this, because it's been, I think we're going to remember this period as one of the most important periods in Disney history. That's all the stuff that's happening right now.
Indeed. And Tom, you're also here. How are you, Tom?
Oh, I'm doing okay.
For someone that was recently blocked by Kevin Smith, how are you taking that?
I'm doing all right.
Well, we used to be quite a fan of him.
Well, I'm reminded of a quote. Never meet your heroes. Who said that? Oh yeah, Kevin Smith when he was talking about Chevy Chase. But yeah, so
the cycle continues.
The cycle continues. I can't say I actually met him, but I definitely crossed his path in some way, and we'll get to that eventually.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. For today, we have three main topics for you, plus whatever comes up over the course of the stream, or in your comments, or in your super chats. All of that tends to derail things in the most fun and interesting ways. But the planned topics are, of course, the change of God at Disney, because as Kamran is going to say, Darth Sidious may be in the process of revealing themselves.
And not only that, we might have gotten a little bit more insight as to how somebody got a 3-year contract extension as well.
Yeah, we'll get into all of that. And we'll talk Hawkeye. That's a series that came out last week. We haven't spoken about it before, but it's time to discuss it now. Both its individual merits as well as its reception. And finally, of course, we'll talk about someone trigger happy when it comes to hitting the ban function on Twitter. So someone like Kevin Smith, for instance.
Yeah, indeed. So with that, before we get too deep into things, I want to remind everybody that the lovely ladies of Toxic Femininity are putting together a pinup spectacular. So I'm going to share the link for that in the chat so you guys can sign up for that. Hopefully within the next week or so, or by Monday, I'm thinking we may have things set up for that. But if not, sign up for it now and you get a special gift. So there you go. If I can find it. There we go. I got the link. Okay. So I'm going to share that in the chat. So you guys sign up now for a special bonus prize. When we do go live, you'll only get it if you sign up ahead of time. So there you go, guys. There's the link right there in the chat. And with that, I think we had some super chats, Andre.
Yes, we do, and we have some great people joining us today. We have Tina Bojan is here, Donny Canoop is here, sorry about that, Luca Rox is here, Dark Scipio is here, so is Lady Greymaster, I believe I saw, Gran was Sue 42 is here, Ham Dinger is here, head of the Tom fan club, Max Relax is here, Xenomorph is here, Cody Guy is here, see a lot of members. Dragon Bricks is here, Davina Duckworth is here, and we also have a couple of super chats, as you said. Olaf Van S says, "Hail Kamran, Tom and Andre. Great start of weekend." Oh, well, thank you. We shall do our best. Black Wolf Inc. says for $5. Bonus questions. We probably had one before, but we do reverse chronological right now. Bonus question. How likely is Dictor von Doomcock, the future ruler of Earth, rumor about the sequel trilogy removal to be confirmed? It's over 9,000. Well, confirmed, that's like a strong thing like that. What you're looking for is how likely is the rumor to be accurate, whether it's confirmed or not. So, Kamran, do you have any thoughts on that, on them removing the sequel trilogy from canon?
I think the events of the past few days have removed the final obstacles for that. and we're going to talk about that. But I have said I've known since before Doomcock announced it, since it was leaked to him, it was leaked to me simultaneously in advance by a very close friend of mine who's very close with the Star Wars people, who basically sent me a DM out of nowhere saying, just want to let you know. This was a year and a half ago. He said, just want to let you know, Favreau and Filoni have a plan to erase the sequel trilogy, and they've already seeded it into the Mandalorian. It's already there. They're not, and it's being prepped. That was a year and a half ago. And then 2 days after I got that DM, Doomcock was leaked that information, and he put it out there in his video. And so I knew that was a coordinated information leak that was being done. It was being sent to me. It was being sent to others. So I have
it was sent to us,
sent to you. I mean, I've known about this for a year and a half, and the source that I got it from is a very famous screenwriter, and I fully respect this source. And so that was being done while Ms. Kennedy was still in power, at least a lot more than than the situation she is in currently, regardless of what her contract says. And with the rise of this new chairman of the board, which we're going to talk about, I think that the only thing that would stop the erasure of that trilogy is if Jon Favreau decides he doesn't want to do it. I don't think there's any roadblocks in his way. So now it's his creative choice. Assuming that he is of the same philosophy that he's been so far, which is that he's a Star Wars fan and wants to fix this thing to go back to what he loved as a child, then there's nothing stopping him from erasing this trilogy. There's no one putting the brakes on. It's all up to him now, and I'm assuming he's going to do it.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I found the first super chat from Black Wolf, who said for $10, greetings and salutations, Midnighters. Salute to Killer Kam Pasha. Question for Kamran. How do you see Feige during this current dilemma? Is he a disgraced figure or a king waiting for his comeback? One love. I anticipate that we will be getting into this question over like the first main topic. So we're gonna answer it then. But thank you for the support.
We're going to talk about this in depth.
Will be answered. We'll talk about this.
I have very strong opinions, and over the course of the multiple topics we're going to talk about today, he's going to cross the path, and we're going to answer this, at least from my point of view and from the others' points of view. So,
yeah. And Michael B, aka Shogun Gaming, sent us 14 Danish krona super sticker. So thank you for that. And then just have to scroll back up a little bit more here. Should be one or two more, I think, before we go back to the current ones. Oh no, that was the first. Then we're almost back to current events here. Hypergiver 2 said for $5, just in time, Krampus the Naughty Cut hits 4K Blu-ray on December 7th. Also, I've met Kevin twice. He's exactly what you think he is. Okay. When you say Kevin, I guess you must mean Kevin Smith, presumably, and not Kevin Feige. Yeah, do let us know.
Because Kevin Feige's persona is less defined than Kevin Smith's.
Yeah, and Callum Lyle says, I hope you do a CGI He-Man video. If you hope for, can you change that to, I hope you'll reference the CGI He-Man in a completely different video, because then I'll grant that wish. Yeah, because I've known that I'm not going to do a whole video devoted to it. That's not happening. Sorry about that, but it's just not happening. Deleted Scene says, Hail, Andre, Tom, Kamran, Wrenches, and chat. And Kostas Lavaranos says for 20 Canadian dollars, thank you. As a long-time Conan lover, man of my own taste here, who's built up a big classic Marvel comic collection. Big shout out to Andre. Love hearing you talk about the Cimmerian, my dude. Oh, well, thank you, Kostas. Man of my own taste. That's my absolute favorite content to do, is whenever I get to do some Conan content, because that's just pure passion. Mm-hmm. Star Wars and stuff like that, that's interesting. It's cool case studies, but Conan is passion. And also as a classic Marvel comic lover, maybe right about now, Roy Thomas will be signing my Conan comics. So thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett for sorting that out, and details to come in a separate video later on. Then we had Sean Carter, who says for $5, G'day, quick question. Why does Kevin Smith's default expression look like someone just started a colonoscopy on him that he wasn't prepared for? Tom, since you're already blocked by him and you have nothing to lose, why do you think that might be?
Why does Kevin Smith's default look like he started with that's just he's got this like the actual answer is he always does this like stupid muggy look with the popped out eyeballs and the like, oh, I'm surprised shit when it really looks like somebody.
Yeah, he's worked very hard in front of a mirror to try to perfect that look.
Exactly, Sean, but I think you're not far off because I've thought before it does look like somebody just shoved a finger up his ass, but yeah, and he enjoyed it.
The praise is high here. Callum Lyle says, I want She-Hulk to be good. But what do you think? You know what? I want it to be good too, because it has both Bruce Banner, it has the Abomination. So I want it to be good for that reason. But will it be? That's the question. Kamran, have you heard anything?
Are we talking about the Tatiana Maslany project?
Yes, that's the one.
I mean, I'm Maslany is one of the great actresses of our time, right? And so the very fact that she's cast in this gives me great hope. And for all the things that we're going to talk about, I think She-Hulk's going to be good. I think the earliest art we've seen hasn't shown, She-Man Hulk, and so I think we've got a shot of having something like what the original material, and we're going to have a great actress.
I hope so. I really hope so. I want She-Hulk to be good. I really, really do. We have a couple of more super chats to go. Actually, I think we only have one more, so let's do that one. And then we get into the first main topic here. Our good friend Mike, the Mexican Iron Man, says for $20, brothers. So I guess Kevin Smith won't be accepting our invite for an interview. Also, what's this calendar? So, Andre and Tom, should I email my Mexican iron thong pics? Can I be the March pinup? LOL, hail Kamran, your Patreon rocks. And yes, Kamran's Patreon absolutely rocks. Everyone should go check out Kamran Pasha's Patreon. There are extensive stories there with more details than what you can drop right here. Like, this is a public forum with like the algorithm rules and everything like that. Whereas Patreon is a much, I'm not going to say freer, but it has like some less restrictions in terms of like algorithm and stuff like that. So he can be a little bit freer. Go check out details for how to sign up. In the description, you'll find it right there.
Yeah, and I'm posting a lot of stuff that I'm excited by. Not just I post a lot of rumors and behind the scenes stuff and information that I'm getting that I can't necessarily say publicly, but I'm also posting a lot of information on, for those of you who are aspiring writers. I have some really great stuff, I think, on how to be a better writer, and I've got an article on my own personal screenwriting method that has been incredibly well received. I'm intending to expand that into a book because my method is very unique, and people read it and go, well, why didn't I think of this? And so there's a lot of great stuff on there, and there's also opportunities to talk with me directly, arrange calls on there through various levels on the Patreon, and so I hope you'll join it.
Yeah, and just to correct Mike, it's not a calendar; it's a pinup spectacular. Oh. So it's full of posters.
Oh,
so
hello. Yes. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. A calendar will come, but that's next year.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, and for that one, some Mexican Iron Man in the Iron Thong pics would be most welcome. But with that, let us move into the first main topic of today, because earlier this week, the new chairman of the board for Disney was announced. Now, this will be the person that is replacing Bob Iger. When she takes over, Bob Iger is completely gone from Disney. Now, Tom, do you have the story here from Deadline or something that we can bring up and then have Kamran walk us through it?
Give me a second. Because so where's the one I sent you? There it is. All right, I got the variety one. Here we go. Susan Arnold will take stupid fucking videos things. Go away. Susan Arnold will take Disney chairman role after Bob Iger's departure. Now, Susan Arnold, I don't know who she is, but I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that. But she says here she is a veteran of consumer products giant Procter & Gamble, as well as the Carlyle Group investment group, and will take the reins from Chairman Bob Iger in the role as he departs December 31st. The transaction will mark the end of an era for the big entertainment company, which will not have Iger as a senior operating role for the first time since 1996. In a filing with U.S. Secretary's Exchange Commission, Disney said Iger informed its board Wednesday that he intended to step down as chairman of the board at the same time he left his role as executive chairman at the end of the year. Susan is an incredibly esteemed executive whose wealth of experience, unwavering integrity, and expert judgment have been invaluable to the company since she first joined the board in 2007, said Iger in a prepared statement. Having most recently served as independent lead director, Susan is the perfect choice for chairman of the board, and I am confident the company is well positioned for continued success under her guidance and leadership. It has been a distinct honor to work with Susan and our many other talented directors, and I am incredibly grateful for the support and wise counsel they have provided during my tenure. Arnold has been a member of Disney's board for 14 years and has served as an independent lead director since 2018. Disney's new executive structure will keep the roles of CEO and chairman separate for now, a trajectory the company has followed in the past. Iger was named CEO in 2005, but was not awarded the chairman role until 2012.
When certain things began to happen.
Bob Chapek was named Disney chief executive in February of last year. Arnold spent years in senior roles at Procter & Gamble, where she led several of its top business units between 2002 and 2009. Between 2013 and 2021, she was an operating executive at the Carlyle Group. She has served on the boards of McDonald's Corp. and NBTY Inc. As I step into this new role as chairman of the board, I look forward to continuing to serve the long-term interest of Disney shareholders and working closely with CEO Bob Chapek as he builds upon the company's century-long legacy of creative excellence and innovation, she said. So there you go, kids. Now, I guess right off the bat, I think the big thing to kind of address here is do you think this is a big deal that Chapek wasn't awarded this role, or do you think it's kind of similar to Iger's situation where they're going to make him wait a while? Do you want to start with you, Andre, or should we just jump right to Kamran?
I want to hear what Kamran has to say about this, because that's where I have my own thoughts, but we can wait with that. Kamran is going to have the much more interesting reading of this situation. Now, we've spoken a little bit about this already. So, yeah, I'm very excited for this, because I agree with what you said, these are extremely interesting times at Disney. And this is completely changing the company. A position like the chairman of the board, that is who the CEO reports to. The CEO is responsible to the board, and the person who speaks for the board is now this person. So Chapek hasn't been completely free to do everything that he wanted to do as long as Iger was there, because Iger still had influence and pull. Now Iger is gone. That doesn't mean that Chapek is completely 100% in charge, because everything he does, he has to have Susan Arnold sign off on. So where does Susan Arnold stand? That is the big question. Kamran, what's your take on this?
I think the news that Susan Arnold has been appointed or will be appointed the new chairman of Disney starting January 1st is one of the most important events in Disney history and one of the most important events in recent Hollywood history. And I'm going to liken it to something, because I'm a Star Wars fan, I'm going to liken it to something that I think will surprise people in the chat and people that are watching this video. This is the revelation of Darth Sidious. Chapek was never the boss this whole time. Even as he took power the last year, he was the apprentice. He was Darth Maul. He was Darth Vader. And he was out there in public doing what the apprentice does. And now the revelation of who's been behind the scenes this whole time and who put him in power has come about. Because let's look at who Ms. Arnold is. The most important thing in her bio, in her resume, is that she was a member, or is a member, of the Carlyle Group. The Carlyle Group is one of the most powerful and wealthiest private equity investment groups on the planet. And she's been there, I believe, since 2007 when she left Procter and Gamble, or maybe 2012. I don't know the exact dates, but she's been there for at least a decade. And I have said on Midnight's Edge for over a year that Bob Chapek is the investor's choice, and that he was able to take over as at least nominally as CEO until he finally wrested that power earlier, this year, or at least halfway through this year, when he actually took the actual reins because Iger wouldn't let him be the CEO. So I have wondered for some time who was behind that. Who were the investors pushing for him? And now it makes absolute sense. If we look at Ms. Arnold, who's been there, who's been in the board for many years, board of Disney, and then she was appointed in 2018 as the independent lead director. So within directors, there's people that are directors essentially that are associated with the company, and there's people that are directors that are not associated with the company, the independent directors. And she was essentially put in charge of them. So now, and that was 2018, right at the height of when we were having major crises economically, the chickens coming home to roost from Lucasfilm and everything else, and Marvel beginning to make a downturn, where suddenly she is pushed forward as from being just a board member to the head of the independent investors. She was the voice of the people that were not the club. I see people asking in the chat, is she a member of the club? She may be a member of other clubs, financial clubs, Wall Street clubs, but she's not a member of the Hollywood club any more than Chapek is. And she was pushed forward because the investors were tired of losing money and watching bad PR coming out of mismanaged Disney, Lucasfilm, and the beginnings of crisis happening at Marvel. And so this was the person who pushed Bob Chapek, because Bob Chapek's rise to power as CEO made no sense from a Hollywood club perspective. He wasn't a member of the club. I had never come across his name in my years of, I worked at Disney, and his name never came up in the Hollywood circles. The person that we all assumed was going to be the next CEO and chairman of Disney was going to be Iger's protege, Alan Horn, who was running the movies on his part. Now, Alan Horn is out along with Iger. And so that's because he was a failed candidate for that position. He should have been given the CEO job. And when Bob Chapek, who had been working in consumer affairs, working in with the parks, someone that the Hollywood elite crowd had never dealt with, took that position, something was up. He had been pushed there, and he had obviously been pushed by someone powerful enough to knock out candidates like Alan Horn. And I've been wondering who that person was for some time, and that person has now revealed themselves, because Bob Chapek, over the course of this year, has been doing what the Sith apprentice does, which is clear out the way for the master to reveal themselves. That's what Darth Maul did. That's what Vader did. And they're out there clearing the brush so the master can unveil themselves. And so we are now seeing the mastermind behind Chapek and the master behind the new strategy, which is Susan Arnold, representative of the investor class, not part of the club, head of the independent board members who are not part of the Disney internal structure. She's now taking over. So people who are misreading this, people are saying, as usual, people misread things. You don't understand the dynamics of these things. People are saying, well, I've heard people say, well, this is obviously a vote of no confidence in Bob Chapek because he should have been given the chairman role. He was never going to give the chairman role. That's not the normal way they do things at Disney. When they abnormally gave the CEO the chairman role as well was Iger in 2012. And he did that because he was coming off of, I've bought Star Wars. I've changed history. I've taken over Lucas's greatest thing. And so he was able to leverage that to give himself the CEO role. The chairman role along with CEO. And we saw the disaster that followed because we had no one restraining him. When does the disaster for Disney begin? It's in 2012 with the purchase of Lucasfilm. That's when Disney goes off the rails, and when you've got Bob Iger running around like a drunken sailor, throwing money everywhere and hanging out at parties and getting photo ops and not running the company properly and letting these people like Miss Kennedy and then eventually Mr. Feige go off the rails and do whatever they wanted to do because he's too busy hanging out with them at parties, right? And looking good for the cameras. So you needed someone to restrain him, and that person was not there anymore. And so that's the normal structure of Disney, as they point out in this article, is to have those roles be separate. and to have the chairman serve as an overseer of the CEO and hold him accountable. Nobody was holding Bob Iger accountable for a decade, and we saw the disaster that happened under that thing. So they're not going to go back to that structure, and it's not a good corporate structure anyway. It invests too much power and too much ego in one person. But what we're having here is the person that put Bob Chapek in to clean house finally comes and says, well, I'm taking over now. And so this is not this is not a vote of no confidence in Bob Chapek. This is Bob Chapek unveiling to everybody, guess who's been behind me the whole time? Guess whose arm I am? And so whatever Bob Chapek's strategy is, and we're going to talk about his strategy, and I have my opinions about it, that's not coming from him alone. That's coming from the person that gave him this CEO job and has now unveiled themselves by declaring themselves the chairman. We're seeing the rise of the Empress, and there's so many layers to this that we can talk about for so long. But one of the most important layers is that she is a woman, and she's also LGBTQ. She's a lesbian. And so no one is claiming, and no one believes for 1 second that she got this job because of those factors. She's an incredibly competent person. She ran Procter and Gamble, a very consumer-oriented company. She left it before we had some of the disastrous woke stuff they did afterwards. And I'm sure she saw that and goes, what are you guys doing? I'm not there. And now you're running these crazy ads that are anti-male for razor blades. It makes no sense. It's not something you would have done, right? This is an incredibly accomplished human being who is ready for this role. But the fact that she is women and that she's LGBTQ, that silences all the woke mob. So if she has to move against someone who is shielding themselves with various veils of I'm of this identity or that identity, if she has to move against them, someone like a Kathleen Kennedy or someone like that, no, there can be no blame put upon her. You don't have, well, the white man's taking out the woman, right? So that is the remarkable combination or confluence of events that we're seeing here, which means that I think we are about to enter an era of Disney unlike anything we've seen in decades. And it's an era that's going to be consumer oriented because she is consumer oriented. Her protege, Bob Chapek, is consumer oriented. So everything that everyone's been grumbling about for the past 7 years on YouTube is about to be fulfilled. And again, people, because they can't grasp what is actually happening here. This is a coup. This is essentially the end of the old republic. We're now seeing the Disney consumer empire being born, and the Empress has been revealed. This is incredible news for those of us that want Disney and Hollywood to be focused on the audience and the consumer. This is a major shift, and it's going to, I believe, begin a shift in Hollywood as well when they see who is in charge now. This is not someone from the club, and she's going to put this on a different track, and Hollywood is going to be shaking in its boots that this is how it's all played out. I think we're in for an incredible period up ahead.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. And what also stands out to me is, as you say, her background, which is extremely consumer-oriented, much more so than anything else. Now, to get back to the question that we got here earlier, how do you think that she, of course, the big thing is going to be the parks and everything like that, trying to make that profitable. But if we were to focus for a moment on the areas that we and our audience are the most interested in, namely the entertainment, Marvel, Star Wars, those aspects of it, how do you think that she is going to work with that? Let's begin with Marvel and Kevin Feige. He has done something completely unparalleled in film history. He is arguably the most successful producer of all time. No one can take that away. However, ever since Endgame, the MCU hasn't really fired on all cylinders. I'm sure that he must be sweating bullets, and he's really hoping for Spider-Man to be as big a hit as the early indication suggests that it may be.
But Andre, even if it is such a hit, they were already positioning to give the credit to Sony. The reason I know that is that who is speaking for Spider-Man now? It's the Sony people. Amy Pascal is the one that announced that they're going to be bringing back, Holland for more Spider-Man movies. I think 3 more movies. it wasn't Feige that announced it. Yes, this is a joint MCU Sony thing, and Sony is distributing it. And yes, Rothman would prefer that other people handle this because he doesn't fully understand how to deal with this. However, Pascal does know how to deal with this. She was a former head of Sony, right? And the fact that she is becoming the voice for Spider-Man suggests the internal politics are that Feige's not going to get any credit for what I believe will be a massive success.
And what else do you think is going to happen? Well,
I don't care. I
yeah. Yeah, well, we shall see what happens with that. But continuing with the predictions, what do you think is going to happen with Marvel? And with Kevin Feige and the direction,
because Ms. Arnold, I think Ms. Arnold is going to back up her protege, which this guy came for her guy, right? You know, if he came for her guy, he came for her, and so I remain of the opinion, and I can be in a minority of one on this. I don't care. I remain of the opinion that Mr. Feige is finished, that he's not going to survive 2022, and that perhaps by the middle of the year, you're going to see a surprise announcement that he has all these wonderful new opportunities. So to whatever time is still left on his contract, could be 3 more years, doesn't matter. They're going to settle him out, and he's going to move on to other things. And you're going to see someone that's associated with the Russos coming in to Marvel. It'll be a shock to this town. It won't be a shock to me, because you don't take a shot at the king. You don't instigate a rebellion. You don't try to convince your lead actress to publicly sue Disney as an effort to undermine this CEO that's just now beginning to take power. You know, you don't do that stuff and survive. And now that he's got his backer publicly in charge, I cannot imagine that he will survive. And I know that there's people that passionately think I'm wrong, and that's fine. We'll see soon enough. I'm happy to be okay, you're wrong. Your seer stuff didn't work here. I just don't see him being able to survive. I don't think Spider-Man is going to help him survive.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We shall see exactly what happens then. And then shifting over to Star Wars. Tom, we've heard some rumors there. What's the latest from the world of Star Wars that we've heard? Let's begin with that.
Are you mean the Filoni Feige or Filoni Favreau?
Everything. Of course, the Filoni and Favreau taking over, that fits right in with what we've been reporting for months. But give it the bullet points of everything, so we can have Kamran comment on it.
Of which part?
Well, why don't we start with Favreau and Filoni? That was the big.
Yeah.
It's not official news. There's no press release from Lucasfilm stating their position, but the fact that someone like Grace Randolph is being leaked the Queen of the Normies, right, says something.
Yeah, and I will also say that her Star Wars leaks before have been on point. Every single one of them. She's gotten a lot of flack, and for good reason for other things. But her Star Wars reportings, the rumors that she has reported there, has been very much so in line with what we have reported and what eventually also has come to pass. And just to go through that, the most recent thing, and we're doing a separate video about it to get like a victory lap, comes from WDW Pro over at That Park Place, who just reiterated that while Kathleen Kennedy has been renewed on paper for 3 more years, she's defanged. She has no real power over Star Wars, which according to our reporting, she hasn't had for a long time anyway. That right now has unofficially been Favreau's baby for a long time, and it's going to continue to be. And we've also got the one that he kind of like coordinates with is Michelle Rejwan, more so than Kathleen Kennedy. But there's the understanding that he's the one ultimately running this ship, which of course isn't looking too good for any of Kathleen Kennedy's projects, like for instance the Acolyte, which was showrun by the Harvey Weinstein's former secretary and enabler. I forget her name right now. Leslie Headland. Yeah, exactly.
The keeper of the secrets.
Yeah, exactly. The keeper of the secrets and the enabler of the secrets.
The blackmail. It's very effective to advance your career when you know who did what.
Yeah. So we shall see what happens with that. Kamran, what do you think is going to happen to the world of Star Wars going forward?
Well, we've been talking here at Midnight's Edge for some time that her power has been diminished, but she still had some power, as in we knew she was involved in Indiana Jones. In theory, she had all these movies, right? And stuff that was, and some stuff that people were initially excited for, like Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. They became less excited about that after watching Wonder Woman 2. But she still, in theory, had that on paper, right? So the idea, it seemed to be that there had been a division of power that, okay, Favreau, you take over the television Disney Plus side, and we're going to let her do these movies, right? Because at least she comes from a movie background, so she should be able to do that, which we've seen through Star Wars. She's not able to do that, but whatever. That was a thinking. But the events of the past couple of weeks, when it was announced that Rogue Squadron had been pushed off the schedule for scheduling reasons. No one knows what's on Patty Jenkins' schedule that could make it a scheduling thing. She doesn't have anything else in production, right? But that was pushed off the schedule, and then increasing word that the imaginary, Rian Johnson trilogy is done forever, which I've known for several years was never going to happen. But now, essentially, there's nothing on the production board for Star Wars, and with Indiana Jones delayed a full year, there's really nothing in production right now. Indiana Jones, they've started wrapping down whatever they were filming for the last few weeks for Christmas. So we have that. We're like, well, okay, so there's nothing being produced in the movies. Everything's dead in the water. What does that mean? 10 days after that, we now have the rapidly spreading rumors, and especially rumors set out on the same day to WDW Pro. He announced it, and at the same exact time, we had Grace Randolph saying she got the sources saying that. So that was a coordinated leak, like what happened when someone reached out to me and to Doomcock and to Midnight's Edge at the same time, saying that there was a plan to eliminate the sequel trilogy. Those are coordinated leaks being approved from high up in the chain, at this point, Chapek. And so it's clear to me that now we have a public, at least, dissemination of information through these non-official sources. You still don't have Variety or Hollywood Reporter or Deadline saying any of this, but that's not how Chapek plays the game. He doesn't use those sources unless they're for very specific propaganda for himself. And so he's put that out there in the general public, in the fandom, which is the most agitated since the rumors of her renewal have gotten out. That he had to calm the fan base down, and also had to get revenge on Kennedy for speaking out of turn and leaking that information that I don't think he ever wanted out about her contract. And so I had said, 10 days ago that I believe I said it here, that he's going to get revenge on Kennedy for revealing this information the understanding was, a tacit understanding was, I'll give you this payoff. You'll get to keep your title. Here's a paycheck that's going to be whatever it is, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I don't care. It's a paycheck. You're just like I got when I was at Disney. Go home. You'll still get your weekly paycheck, right? And so the tacit understanding was you keep your mouth shut about this and leave it as a place of strategic ambiguity so that nobody knows exactly what's going on. And she broke that by having her husband tweet out this information or retweet out this information. So agitating the fan base at the worst possible moment, which is after a bad investor call and the stock dropping over 10%. Now it's down 16%. So that was not something he wanted. So I said, he's going to get revenge. He's going to get revenge real fast. And the revenge was he leaked out to people that she has no power whatsoever. So it's a meaningless payoff deal, right? So as I said, it was, right. When you don't control the television, you don't control the movies, you don't control anything, right? You're not a studio head. If you don't control anything, you're just someone getting a paycheck, right? And a title and a be quiet order. And so this means that it is now Chapek and Darth Sidious above him, Susan Arnold, are comfortable with people realizing that Lucasfilm is in the hands of Jon Favreau on all levels. And as Grace Randolph indicated, there's a new cinematic Star Wars universe being developed by Favreau. My instinct is that that's probably going to heavily rely on the extended universe stuff, the legend stuff, right? It probably won't directly adapt those books, but it will take a lot of material from them in a perhaps more respectful way than it was stolen and put into some of these Star Wars sequel things. I think that he's going to resurrect a lot of good ideas. I think Thrawn's going to be really important moving forward. And so I think we're in an incredible place right now where everything that the fandom has wanted is being presented to them. Will Gina Carano come back? I don't know that she wants to come back, but I think the world that we're going to be in, where with Susan Arnold in charge and Kathleen Kennedy in the background, Gina Carano can come back if she wants to. Doesn't mean she wants to or will. But I think with Susan Arnold in charge, and Susan Arnold there, it's hard to, have this, well, she's a right-wing woman that we need to get rid of. I mean, you've got people have been saying Kathleen Kennedy is the most powerful woman in Hollywood. Whether that's true or not, one thing is true, that title no longer exists. The most powerful woman in Hollywood is Susan Arnold, the chairman of Disney, right? So Kathleen Kennedy's eclipsed there. She doesn't have any ability to use her "I'm a woman" and stuff on this anymore. And so we're in an incredible moment here where I think most of what the fans wanted is going to happen. And I still see grumbling in the chat, and I don't believe this. I'll believe it when I see it. I think that even, when you get incredible new stuff coming out of Favreau and great new movies and great new TV stuff, you'll still be grumbling. I don't believe it, because you're so hurt by what's happened. And I get that, right? But at this point, it's so obvious that we have a new shift here, and that Favreau is going to move forward essentially unstoppably to create the Star Wars that we all wanted. At some point, you guys got to take the win. Take it. Sitting around grumbling that I still think, I don't know about this. At some point, you're just a person that is not enjoying the glories of life. And we've actually had an incredible victory here that was done by the fans, by the consumers. That's why you've got Chapek, a consumer guy, and you've got Susan Arnold, a consumer woman, in charge of Disney now. You pulled it off, so take the win, take it, and enjoy it.
Yeah, but I understand. Like, I think that many are like, they want to see it in practice, and I think you're going to give it a year. It takes time for like this to come to fruition.
As close as she is with Iger, I just see it same boss, new as the old boss.
No, I don't agree with that.
That's kind of where
I don't agree with that at all. She's not the same boss. That's just, I'm going to have to passionately disagree with you on that. She's not part of the same club. She comes out of the investor environment. They're all friends, and that they all hang out with each other. Doesn't mean they share the same agendas.
Yeah, I am agree,
where that's coming from. It just
more with Kamran. Just look at the background. Her background is not from entertainment. She's been in Disney the past few years, but before that, her background couldn't be more different. Bob Iger was always from the world of entertainment. He was from Disney, and before he was Disney, he was ABC, ever since the beginning of his career, right up until Disney took over ABC, whereas her background has always been in more consumer-oriented. So let's hope. Time will tell. Time will tell exactly what happens, and we'll be here to break it down in detail. Right now, though, we have quite a few super chats here to go through. I'm going to go through some of those here. What you all have to say. Black Wolf Inc. said for $5. Last question for now. Why haven't you guys reported anything DC related? Any Snyderverse rumors? Also, Kamran, I will join your Patreon very soon, fam. Yeah, that's awesome. Now, in terms of like a DC, it's complete and total chaos behind the scenes of Warner Media right now. I've heard the rumors about like Snyder coming back and all of that. I'm not buying that just yet. We will do a video once we learn a little bit more about where the chips fall down, which basically is going to be where Saslaw wants them to fall down.
Last I heard was just that the Ayer cut is probably likely going to happen. The Snyder cut, we're starting to get more numbers and how that did for HBO Max, and it looks like it did very, very, very well. There's also been Snyder making some hints online that he may be making a return in some way. Now, again, that's just hints and people reading into stuff, but who knows? You have the issues going on right now with Aquaman. You have Aquaman himself getting sick and injured. And then you also have Miss Turd, who's facing some possible even jail time right now. So like there's a lot going on in that arena. There's also been the rumblings about whether or not what's her face wants to come back as Harley Quinn anytime soon again. Then all of a sudden I
think she will. I mean, I think
she might, but there's been a lot of kind of, I think she's pulling a Tom Holland. I think she wants a big payday.
Oh, of course, she contract. Oh, absolutely, she does. I mean, this is her signature role.
Exactly, and
she's going to want a lot of money for that, and I get that.
The problem you have though is the last two features she's been in did not do well, and considering Birds of Prey, like they even did. I don't know if you saw this or not, guys, but they dropped an edited version of Birds of Prey on HBO Max.
for a lot more.
Yeah, I heard. What was that all about?
I don't know.
Because Birds of Prey has been on HBO Max before, and that was the real version. But now they re-uploaded the censored version.
Yeah, it's like a TV
really would
cut.
like to know what on earth was up with that. I don't know the answer.
I don't know if they got some complaints from parents, maybe, because kids clearly wanted to watch the movie, and being that it's such a harsh film.
Yeah.
Because I watched a couple of the scenes that were edited, and it's like bad TV edit stuff. I mean, at least they have what appears to be the original actors doing the ADR, but it's clearly not what they're saying, right? Like it's tamed down stuff.
The new version is tamed down. I thought the new version had more like
they released, for some reason they released some more censored version of it. Like a lot of the swearing and other stuff's taken out.
This is just these guys. They don't know what they're doing at HBO Max. I know. I mean, when I was out recently pitching a major project, we took pitches at Netflix and other big places. HBO Max was like, yeah, this is too highbrow for us. We're looking for more Gossip Girl. It was just like, you guys went from Tiffany, which is Game of Thrones, at least what Game of Thrones once was, Tiffany stuff, like the high to you want Gossip Girl. I mean, they're just clueless bunch of clowns.
Oh yeah. Speaking of Game of Thrones, that reminds me that news story that just came out that kind of confirms some of our reporting on that canceled series and how much it cost them. That was
I don't know the
truckload. Let me see if I can find that.
But that support. So look, I think when Discovery finalizes the takeover next year, I think there's going to be a lot of house cleaning. But these guys are bumbling around without any idea what they're doing until Discovery takes over. Do we still have Tom? Do we have anybody here? I don't know. It's just me.
I was grabbing the other story. Andre must have stepped away, but $30 million is what they spent on that pilot that never happened.
30 million. Yeah, that never happened. Well,
yeah.
I mean, look, with Game of Thrones, they had an original pilot that sucked, and they reshot the whole thing and recast it and everything. Again, that showed David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, who had essentially no TV background whatsoever, but had the right connections, right?
Yeah.
Were given that luxury, of a completely reshot. So that was $10 million wasted there, but they made some profit. Obviously Game of Thrones became successful with the new version, but this $30 million wasted. I mean, I personally think the Game of Thrones, the new stuff isn't going to work. I think we're all kind of done with the Targaryens and all that. And I think we're all still sick at heart from what was done to a very incredible series in the final 2 seasons. So I just don't know that it's Humpty Dumpty. I don't think you can rebuild it. 30 million, there's a lot more loss coming.
And I guess on the Birds of Prey note, Six sent me this article. Thank you, Six, for that. Says HBO fixes Birds of Prey plunder and uploads the R-rated version. I guess they accidentally put up the TV-14 version. I don't buy that. I feel like there was something at play here.
Right. So what it is? They were supposed to put a censored version up, and then they put up the R-rated version.
No. They were the R-rated version is what's supposed to be on HBO Max.
Correct. Yeah.
But according to them, they accidentally put up the censored version.
Okay. All right. Well, this is a clown show.
I think they were testing waters here, honestly.
That sounds as good a theory as I am.
I think so. I think kind of like with the Deadpool PG-13 thing. I think they're kind of proving some points, and I think in the end, because I think since things have been so quiet, and to go to Black Wolf's question here, and then I don't know if Andre has anything to add or subtract. I think we're going to start seeing some more leaning into the Snyderverse because of how popular the Snyder Cut was. Because we're just, like I said, we're just finally getting some numbers on that, and they had, I think they said the first night it was on, they had like 30,000 subscribers sign up or some shit like that. I think I read, if I'm not mistaken. So like that's big win for them. And to the up until Dune, the Snyder Cut was their biggest watched thing on HBO Max, but then Dune dwarfed it by quite a bit. But that's understandable considering all the factors involved. But
what's impressive is that many other things in a year where they dropped their entire theatrical slate straight to HBO Max, there should have been so many other titles that also dwarfed Snyder Cut, and they didn't.
Well, yeah, but they were like Space Jam 2 Like,
It was also Mortal Kombat. It was also
Mortal Kombat
Conjuring
and
in there.
Godzilla vs. Kong, I think actually may have done a little bit better than those two, but
Yeah, I'm sure they did, but they shouldn't have done a better. They should have done a whole hell of a lot better.
if I'm
And that's what they
remembering,
didn't do.
Mortal
I mean,
Kombat did on par, but you're not taking in the factor of what they did
the
in the
Snyder
box
Cut
office, too.
held its own in competition with brand new releases, with brand new
Yeah, but the difference,
intended
though,
for theatrical releases.
yeah, but they were in theaters at the same time, though, Andre, and they did well in theaters, though. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah, in that factor, I get where you're coming from, but it's not like the Snyder Cut was out in theaters at the same time as the other films were.
No, exactly. It had a handicap in that it had been out in theaters years before in an inferior version, and you would expect it not to have the kind of appeal that it did. And what we have heard before, this also comes from Mikey Sutton, is that they were for the Flash movie, the one that's going to bring back Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton. 2 endings were filmed: one in which Ben Affleck's Batman lived, and one in which he died, so that they would have some leeway and some room in editing to see exactly where things went down. What I have heard, and this I have not heard from Mikey Sutton, so take with a grain of salt and everything, is that they're leaning towards the ending in which Ben Affleck lives.
I was just going to say that. I actually heard something that supports that. I heard a rumor that he's going to pop up in Batgirl.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. They're filming Batgirl now.
Yep.
Yeah, they are filming right now.
And Batgirl is also going to be closer to, like, in continuity with the Snyderverse.
Yeah.
So in a sense, that is the continuation of Snyderverse.
So, like, there's very little news, but what little news I've been hearing come out has been very leaning towards Snyderverse stuff. So if that helps.
Let's be honest, Affleck is a good Batman. I didn't like Batman versus Superman as a movie, but he's a good Batman. I mean, he sort of plays that the
that
rich.
Was most people's feelings. Like, the movie sucked, but Ben was fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he sort of embodies the sort of rich playboy douchebag, which is the persona of Bruce Wayne. Which is the insight is that Bruce Wayne is the costume, Batman is the real personality of this person, right? But he portrays that really well as sort of the entitled rich guy, but who's also troubled. He's kind of like bringing a lot of himself to it, and I'm looking forward to, if he came back, I'm looking forward to it. And I've said on Midnight's Edge before that I am incredibly excited for Batgirl because the 2 directors, I share a lot of mutual friends with them, Adil and Bilal. I don't know them personally yet, but they were the ones who directed Bad Boys 3, and they are, again, very audience oriented. They want to wildly entertain the audience. And some people are like, well, why do they cast a Latina? Well, if anybody saw In the Heights, Leslie Grace is an incredible actress. I mean, she's going to be huge. And so they cast her because she blew them away in the audition, not because, let's find a Latina to put this in there. And it's a pretty racially diverse cast. There's white people in it too, right? And so it's going to be an exciting movie, and it'd be great if Affleck comes in it.
Yeah, it sounds like that's the direction they're going. So we'll learn more as we get moving along here. Callum Lyle says, or asks, I should say, does Kevin Smith hate his wife? What's she like? Actually, Callum, if anybody who's a fan of Kevin Smith follows him, knows more about his love life and his wife than they probably want to know. Because he is somebody who just, in fact, he's pissed her off by how many stories he's told about her. Like, and they're never bad stories per se, but he just talks too much about his personal life. As far as I can tell, they have a very loving relationship, I guess, is the best way to put it without getting into too much detail. But no, she is, on the other hand, a very open feminist. She comes from a journalist background. Their daughter is also probably somebody who's grown up in that bubble, so she probably has a lot of the same kind of mind think. And they moved Kevin out to California years ago, and I just think they slowly chipped away at him. And we'll definitely get into deeper Kevin discussion.
His pathology is very simple. He's been on the edge of the club his whole entire career. He's been that geeky guy trying to get into the cool club table, and that messes your head up after a while. If you keep trying, right? He keeps wanting to be liked by these guys. That's who he's always hanging out with, like Affleck and Damon, and he's always in the shadow of these people. Instead of just embracing being a weirdo independent filmmaker, he desperately wants to be liked.
Well, Affleck kind of bypassed him because what happened was he kind of was one of the first people to give Affleck attention, helped him get Good Will Hunting made, and then Affleck took off and Kevin was just kind of left in the dust. And they didn't even talk for almost 10 years. Like they didn't talk between Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back and Jay and Silent Bob
because Affleck became a Hollywood dude. And
well, and a big part of it was Jennifer Garner, I guess. But that, again, that's the thing with Kevin going out there and telling too much. And we'll get into that because I think he told a little bit too much in his interview as well that we covered yesterday. So, and I know I hurt his feelings. I'm sure I did. I don't know about personally, but I'm sure I pissed him off.
What did you say? I guess we're going to get to it, but
we'll get to it. But like the thing I think that set him off was I was one of the people that retweeted his thing about, oh, I'm not hearing any of the negativity about part 2. And yeah, I think he noticed that there was a few people who had more popular retweets of that because that whole thread was just chock full of negativity, like 10-to-1 ratio, at least. So he probably went after anybody who had a lot of retweets and likes and stuff on any of their tweets, like myself, possibly, because like Midnight's Edge didn't get blocked. Andre didn't get blocked. Not too many other people have gotten blocked. I'm sure Clownfish TV hasn't gotten blocked.
Do you think he knows who you are? That you're
no, I don't think he does. I mean, and honestly, I'm not trying to pretend like I have some ego or anything like that. My point is if honestly, I think if he knew I was a YouTuber, he probably wouldn't have, because he knows how bad of a look that is. And I think that's part of the reason why he did is because he just thought I was some Joe Blow, nobody to him. Yeah. And I just gotten some attention because of my tweet. So he's like, well, fuck that guy, and that's probably it. I mean, if I've been on his radar for other reasons, that's plausible, but we'll get into that. Mags sends in $5 and says, TGIF, hail to the great Cameron and hail to Tom and Andre. Well, thank you, Mags. Appreciate you being here. And
yeah, I saw a few other super chats fly by, a couple that were asking me questions about writing or whatever.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into those here. It just jumped on me. Oh, at least it hangs on to them though. Andre, do you have anything more handy that I got to go back here? Or did we lose Andre again? Sounds like we might have lost Andre for a minute or two. I know he had to deal with something.
He's got to take care of his kids. Yeah. So
yeah, I my whole thing just jumped on me here. So now I got to find where I was.
Okay. Well,
well, let me try and grab. Say.
Well, we should talk about Hawkeye because I've got about a little less than an hour left. We should
all right. Yeah, let's we'll let Andre, hopefully he can gather up the ones that are for you in the meantime. Because have you watched Hawkeye at all?
I've not. I'm actually planning to. I had unsubscribed from Disney Plus after the disgraceful way they treated Gina Carano. Right. I had subscribed when I heard Luke Skywalker was back, and so I was on for about a month. I'm very excited, and I liked The Mandalorian when I finally watched it, and then I unsubscribed. But now, because I am of the opinion that things are back on track and that we're going to be okay on Lucasfilm, and so I'm like, all right, well, if I have concluded that is the case, especially now with Ms. Arnold in charge, right? Then I'm like, all right, well, then I've got to put my money where my mouth is. So I'm going to resubscribe. And I'm a bit of a Haley Steinfeld fan. I think she's a great actress. And so I'm going to resubscribe probably this weekend and watch it. I'm hearing people saying it's one of the better ones out of this Marvel TV. It's just not doing well.
And there, Tom dropped out as well, but I'm back again, so it's excellent. Yeah, I've been hearing the same thing. Tom, I know, has been watching Hawkeye, and what he said.
Finished it up just before the show.
Yeah, exactly. Like I liked your first response, namely that it wasn't horrid. To which, like, which I was like. Yeah, well, that's.
I mean, it's got some issues. It's a very nuanced
compared to some other things we've seen from Disney Plus. Then,
yeah, it's a very nuanced kind of show. Like I look at it this way: like I haven't watched any at all of Hawkeye or not Hawkeye, Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I got to be clear about that. And I only watched half of WandaVision, and I only watched one episode of Loki, and I watched Andre's review. So like I kind of have a general overview, and I kind of know how WandaVision ended, right? Like, so I kind of have a general overview of what we've gotten to this point. To this point, though, this is the one that's probably gotten me the most invested. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't a buttload of problems with it. Okay. Right? Like, it's as far as it being a series about one of the characters from our previous, adventures and introducing a new character at the same time, it's probably doing it much more well-balanced than Black Widow did.
And I liked Black Widow.
I did too for the first 2/3, and I actually liked Florence Pugh's character.
And I also like Black Widow.
It's kind of the same thing here. I keep forgetting Haley Stallwell. How do you say her name? The chick from Bumblebee. Haley. What's her last name?
Haley Steinfeld.
Steinfeld.
Yeah.
She's fine. She's great. She's not overpowering or overbearing. It's not like an obnoxiously I'm girl power kind of role. I mean, that part's great. They don't like Hawkeye has some moments where you're just kind of like here and there, but you're starting to finally get into his psyche a little bit, unlike we ever have before, because he's always been, and that's kind of playing into it, is how he's kind of a side character all this time. And him dealing with that, and he even makes the point. He's like, because she's like talking about his costume and his brand, and he's like, that's the whole point. I always tried to be a ghost. I don't want to be noticed. That's my job. And she's like, he's like, and then he makes the joke. He's like, besides, if I wore something like that, my wife would divorce me. He's
always self-effacing, even in the movies. He's like,
and I mean, he's great with that. And I mean, I didn't feel like there was any time where they were really cucking him out or anything like that. It didn't feel like overly woke or anything like that. It definitely didn't feel like it was agenda driven as much as some of the other series have here. I mean, we clearly get the idea that this is going to be set up for Kate Bishop to be introduced into this world. And I'm kind of back and forth on whether or not I think they're going to kill him off by the end. I mean, there's things they're setting up that plausibly they probably will. And the things that he done as Ronin are probably unforgivable. And that's kind of how as a writer, Cameron, you know how you do these things as a writer. You kind of, even though you make a likable character, if they've done something bad, that's probably why they're going to die. It's like, it's one of those kind of things. And, and we're getting exciting little tidbits of things here and there, as far as like, other characters from the past returning without getting into spoilers. And so far, I don't dislike Echo. She's fine. I don't know much about the character, though. Same thing with Kate Bishop. I don't know enough about these characters to compare them to their comic counterparts. I don't even know that much about Clint, really. So, I mean, I'm a bad barometer as far as comparing it to the comics itself. But as far as like getting us into a series, into this world, it's called Hawkeye, even though it's more like Black Widow, the way it's set up, as far as you got this buddy team thing.
Okay.
I still feel like they're at least giving him enough to do. They're giving him family time. There's some really sweet moments with him and his family. And it feels real. This is probably the most Jeremy Renner's ever been given to do with this character. So it's kind of like a Black Widow thing. And I keep comparing it to that because it is. It's like too little, too late, but at least this character's still alive. I guess.
That's fair enough. And I'm seeing some people in the chats and their super chats about it saying that they felt that Kate Bishop's character, which is Haley Steinfeld, that she's actually respectful to him. She sees him as a mentor. She's not like, she's not like Ray, who's out overshadowing him. She actually has stuff to learn from this guy. So that's progress.
Yeah, there is that. I mean, she is a bit full of herself, but they play with that. I mean, she's not fumbly or anything. But they do give her enough background to where you can kind of believably go, okay, I can kind of see why she's this good. She's a little too good, though. I mean, for her age and her experience, there's some times where I'm just kind of like, okay, come on.
All right. Well, and there's some people saying that in the comics, she is a hyped up character that is actually more can do no wrong than she is in the show. I haven't read the comics, so I don't know. So if that's the case, then it seems that they have learned something from not doing the Mary Sue, if that's what she is in the comics.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to hear if somebody who's more into the comics feels about it. But Andre, you didn't watch any of it at all yet, or I thought you watched?
No, I haven't seen anything. It's on my list of things to do, but I haven't had time in the last few days, so I'll get caught up on it here. I want to see it more now because I've been hearing that it's getting better, and also it is setting up Daredevil by way of the Kingpin, because this is one thing.
Well, I didn't spoil that, but okay.
No, but this is something that Mikey Sutton has reported, so we've actually kind of spoiled it already, that the Kingpin is implied, and
it's heavily implied.
Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin.
I can't say that he's the one they showed, but let's just say that it's very heavily implied. They don't show a face, but I'll say that much.
Because he is one of those that Kevin Feige wanted to bring back from the Netflix verse. In fact, he brings most of the people from Netflix back into the MCU to reboot them with the same actors. So Vincent D'Onofrio is coming back. Charlie Cox is coming back. John Bernthal is coming back. In fact, the only one we know with 100% certainty is not coming back is Finn Jones as Iron Fist.
Okay.
Because that was a disaster, so he's not coming back.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, but let's lead it to despite the fact that there seems to be at least a better reaction than some of this does, you know, despite the fact that apparently the ratings are terrible. You know, the ratings are at least what we're hearing, at least 40%
unfortunately.
from Loki. And so that's not a good sign, even if this is relatively quality material. You know, maybe that's a low standard for where the MCU is right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
that takes us back to the original point, though, is I think all the stuff leading up to this is what caused that, Cameron.
Yeah.
I think had they not had such a, I don't know how to put it, but they did not do a very good job of introducing the television MCU on Disney Plus.
If I may, and I think this is a strangely apt comparison because it has Haley Steinfeld of Bumblebee fame.
Yes.
Bumblebee, to me, is the best Transformers movie. Like, there's only two good Transformers movies, really. It's the original one. And by that I mean like the first live action one, and not the animated from 1986, but the first Michael Bay one, and it's Bumblebee.
I fully agree with that.
Every single live action Transformers movie between the two got worse and worse and worse, and they kept doing it worse because they could, because they got like they still crossed $1 billion right up until the last one. Then the audience had enough. They abandoned it, and not many enough came back for Bumblebee. But that wasn't a reflection on Bumblebee.
That is correct.
Everyone who saw Bumblebee freaking loved it. But so many people didn't see it, and that was a reflection on how bad the previous movies have been. I feel it's the same thing here. Apparently, Hawkeye ain't that bad. On the contrary, indications are it actually might turn out to be really good in the end. Unfortunately, it comes on the heels of Loki, which I didn't hate all that much, and it comes on the heel of the near unwatchable The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it comes on the heels of the huge misstep that was WandaVision. So there's been like 3 extremely lackluster series before it, and Hawkeye, which may be the first good one, pays the price for that. I mean, the ratings are such that it's not that people are like checking in and checking out. Of course, you have that too, but the big issue is that there's many people that aren't checking in the first place.
Which leads to my continued opinion that Kevin Feige is in trouble. You know, he needs stuff. He needs stuff that's homegrown success, and not just, like I said, I am of the view that he won't be given the full credit for Spider-Man's success, and I believe it will be a big success, and I'm going to go watch it. But he won't be given the full credit for that. It's this stuff that he's given the full credit for, the stuff that he's embraced, the stuff that he brought to the board, you know, that whole thing that our friend Dukak reported, which I believe that this whole conflict with Bob Chapek began about 1.5 years ago, when he walks in and presents his plans for phase 4 and phase 5 and all that. And then Chapek challenges him with actual numbers, says, this character, Riri Williams, you want to use? Nobody reads a comic book, right? That was at a board meeting. Who was present at that board meeting? Susan Arnold was present at that board meeting. And he looked like a jackass in front of her, right? And he was embarrassed in front of her. And now she's the big boss. And so I just don't think this is any of this helps him out in his effort to survive there. I just think it's bad news upon bad news upon bad news for this guy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the end. He's taken a few black eyes. So, yeah, let's see how that continues. I think Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is going to be the really important one. That's the one that really needs to knock it out of the park. Because, yeah, it's true. The Spider-Man movie is a Sony co-production. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that's all Kevin Feige. Not done Sam Raimi.
we'll see what it again. We'll see. And there's people in the chat saying, well, this guy's brought in billions of dollars. You're right. This guy's been very successful. I'm not in any way denigrating. I'm a huge fan of the original Avengers and the stuff that was done, right? I'm a huge fan of that. From Iron Man onwards to Endgame. I even liked Ant-Man. And so, I'm not an adversary of Mr. Feige. I just think that when he led a very public, and yes, it was him behind that public rebellion of Scarlett Johansson suing all that stuff, because he was angry that he didn't get the release schedule that he wanted. And who is this guy, Chapek, who's supposed to be a figurehead, telling me I can't release my movies the way I want to release them, and I got to do this day and date, thing with streaming that I don't want to do. I'm going to have my girl sue him, right? That was a very public rebellion that was very stupidly done and blew up in his face within a matter of a few weeks. And he then had to backtrack. And since then, all we're seeing things like the Russos coming out and putting out bad information about him that, he was going to kill off these major Marvel characters, or even more of that is coming out. And so, yes, he's brought them a lot of money. He did the one thing that you just don't do, which is he took a shot at the king and he missed. And so that's egregious. Even Kathleen Kennedy didn't take a shot at the king. She might have irritated the king recently by announcing things she wasn't supposed to announce, right? But that's not a direct effort to get him removed from power, right? It's just her promoting her own ego and her reputation. People can understand that. I just think that what he did was so egregious, the ramifications will be egregious. And that's what I think people aren't factoring in, that it's not what he did to Chapek wasn't normal. And what Chapek is going to do to him isn't normal for someone who's brought in that kind of money. It's what happens when you play that game.
Also, if I may, this is something extremely important. Yes, Kevin Feige is the single most successful film producer of all time, bar none. However, all of his success was during the Iger era. His success, in a sense, ended in 2019. He hasn't had a knockout hit since, the last one actually would be Spider-Man Far From Home, and that also was 2019, the one that follows straight on the heels of Endgame. Since then, everything that has come out since, and this has come out on Chapek's watch, has been pretty lackluster, and it has all underperformed relative to expectations. So what Chapek is confronted with is someone who earned the company billions upon billions during the previous management, but during his tenure, the things that he benefits, and all the money that he was brought in before, that doesn't help Chapek one bit right now. He doesn't get any credit for that. What he has is someone who has a name and who has an ego and who's difficult to deal with and whose products don't live up to expectations.
Well, who's this?
That is the Kevin Feige that Chapek knows.
Who's this lady that's moving up the ranks at Marvel now? I keep forgetting her name, but I believe she was
Victoria Alonso.
Victoria Alonso, yeah. So where's she sitting right now as far as
Kamran, do you think that she's being groomed to take over
for Kevin
Feige, or is she promoted out of the way to where she can do no more harm? Because she's been extremely harmful, I would say. Because all of this woke stuff, if there's one person that's really gung-ho promoting it, it's Victoria Alonso.
Well, I mean, from what I've heard, it's the latter of what you said, which is that she isn't being groomed for power. She's being like Kathleen Kennedy. Here's some nice goodies. Get off the track, right? And so, because my understanding is, and I've heard this now from a few different sources, that Ms. Alonso was really the one with an ideological bent. Feige, like I said, I don't think Feige came in from this saying, I want to promote women and minorities. They were in his movies anyway, but I don't think he came in with some ideological bent about that. And I think, and I've said that he's been given some bad advice as he started rising in the town, and people are like, let's get this idiot out of the club, right? Let's give him some bad advice. And I think he took it. But I think Ms. Alonso is really the little bird whispering in his ear about where the future is, because he's trying to imagine the future of the market, right? That's why he's phase 4 and phase 5. And I think she gave him really, really, really bad advice. And I think that from what I've heard, she's the ideological basis for the woke MCU that we're experiencing post Endgame. And I understand that she's been promoted, but promoted in a position that she's not necessarily supervising now these materials. So I think she's being pushed out of the way. I remain of the view that whatever takes over, whether Mr. Feige remains nominally in charge, like Kathleen Kennedy is nominally in charge, I believe that in 2022, you're going to see someone else take over. It won't be Ms. Alonso, but it'll probably be someone related to the Russos. I don't believe the Russos want to run it directly in the same way that Favreau doesn't want to be the president of Lucasfilm. They're filmmakers. They want to make movies. They want to do stuff. They don't want to run a business like that. But they have people who have run their businesses, who have worked for their production company, and someone associated with their production company will likely shift in to a position of actual authority, whether they're given the credit or not. With maybe Feige will continue to get the credit for some time, but they will take in the practical reins of getting this thing off of this track that Ms. Alonso convinced him to get onto. So that's what I think. I think someone else that we're not seeing is being groomed behind the scenes, and the evidence of that is how outspoken the Russos have been recently about him, saying things that normally you wouldn't say in Hollywood.
They've been really trashing Kevin Feige.
Yeah, you wouldn't say these things. It's a violation of the code of omerta, of silence, right? You only say these things when you're taking down an enemy, and so that's not normal for the kinds of things they've leaked. There was no reason to leak that stuff about. That's all private, creative discussions about Avengers. They did that on purpose to hurt him, and it worked. So I think the fact that they're publicly being the voices, and they publicly came out in support of Bob Chapek over the lawsuit, that Ms. Johansson had done. I think that they are the new forces being set up for Marvel, and their person is going to be the one pulling the strings, whether we even know that person's name or not.
And I would say, looking at their movies, and their movies are arguably the best of the Marvel movies, I would be quite comfortable with that. Also, just speaking of them, like they even trashed Loki. Mm-hmm. I don't have the article in front of me, but they spoke ill of Loki. And of course, in relatively polite ways, not the way that we would do it, but also not in a way that you would expect two very successful MCU directors to do it. I mean, given the situation and the context, I mean, blood practically had to be mopped off the floor afterwards. And also, before we move on to a couple of questions for you and carry on with the Hawkeye thing here, Mags says for $5, thank God it's Friday. Hail to the great Kamran and hail to Tom and Andre. Yeah, thank you, Mags. And Hypergiver 2 says, if Shulky is sexy, sassy, and funny, they screwed it up. Oh, She-Hulk. Oh, that's what it means. Yeah. We'll see what happens with that.
Well, if
Tom,
she's sexy, sassy, and funny, I mean, I'll watch it. I mean, do you feel sexy, sassy, and funny isn't in line with the comic version?
The trailer did look okay. And then I can't remember which, was it an artist or a writer? And I'm really sorry, I'm blanking on this. Somebody posted the other day, like one of the memes of like how it's starting and how it's going. And it was a picture of the big buff manly She-Hulk up against the normal She-Hulk. And so I think that was another signification that things are going, like, again, I may be misremembering the whole quote, but like, yeah, it was.
But I don't think they're
going to. Well, basically, they are returning to the feminine-looking She-Hulk in the comics, and they're going away from the Hulk in drag, which is what She-Hulk was there for a little while. Stop delaying the Superchats a little bit. I have one more question for Kamran regarding Victoria Alonso. Mm-hmm. One of the things that she was most notorious for is that she has opined very publicly that the X-Men are outdated because there's men in the title, and she would much rather see the whole brand rebranded as the Mutants, as opposed to the X-Men.
And that's why she's pushed out. I mean, they're not doing that. They're not going to do that.
But I remember reporting on that like a year ago, and everybody said,
"Yeah, but that was still her. That was still her. It's always been her."
That's what I was saying
that for years.
Yeah, that's who she is. That's who she is, right? This is who she is. She's an SJW woke person on her DNA. That's who she is. But that's not where this company is going to go. And I do not believe that is where Susan Arnold is going to take this company. You know, people have been saying, again, in the chat, people are like, well, she's a lesbian. She's LGBTQ. Does that mean she's woke? Some of the most anti-woke people I know are LGBTQ, right? You know, and they really don't like others in that community somehow speaking on their behalf on politics, right? And so someone like Ms. Arnold, who is a ruthless businesswoman, who, you know, you don't get to the Carlyle Group, which essentially manages funds for presidents of the United States, right? You don't get to that without being a ruthless, dangerous person. Someone like that doesn't have time for ideology. They have time for money. right? And so she's not going to let them ruin this. I really don't believe she's gonna let Ms. Alonso's perspective change that the mutants. She knows the value of X-Men. Chapek knows the value of X-Men, and everyone knows that the word man is not inherently bad, right? Everyone knows this. Only crazy people don't know this. And now it's time for everyone who knows this, who wants to make money, to assert themselves, which is what they're going to do.
Well, here's the thing. I'm looking at her title right here in this article, and this is a brand new article.
Yeah.
Marvel Studios president of physical and post-production, visual effects and animation production. That's a lot of things to be ahead of that aren't just necessarily white. Why don't you just run the whole goddamn thing?
Yeah, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the title of Idi Amin. He was the president of Uganda and the Greater Africa, and especially the United Kingdom and Scotland and Siberia and what have you not. It kind of reminds me a little bit about that. And you know what that tells me? A title like that tells me that I've met with people before who were hired for a certain position, and they had an ego that said, "I want to be a director." Yeah. Actually, we only need you as as a salesperson. You're in sales. No. I want to be director of sales. I want to have director. Okay, fine. We'll call you director, which is the English equivalent would be VP. No, I want to be VP of this or VP of that. But it's just a sales position. Make me a VP. That is what that title tells me. That tells me I want to have a title that will make Idi Amin blush because I'm not doing anything.
She's generalissimo with all the medals, right?
Exactly.
But notice the one title she doesn't have in this menagerie of titles: development. She has production. Production is late stage process. It is okay. Here's the script. This is the script we're filming. Go film it. That's production, right? If she had development, if she was in charge of creative or development, you would have cause for concern, because that's where the bad scripts and the bad ideas are created. If here's a script, it's not woke, film it.
And she used to be there. She used to be in development. But this thing right here suggests that she's been promoted away from it.
She's been given all these generalissimo medals to do the one, and put in a position where she can't tell people that She-Hulk has to be a man, right? Because she's not in development anymore. Here's your She-Hulk. Film this. That's what you're going to do. In fact, you're not even going to do it. You're just a person with a title where you've got this very competent team of people that are going to run this thing.
So, I want to believe you guys, and I want to have faith, but at the same time, I've seen the same people give Alex Kurtzman a 5-year fucking renewal contract on Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, but Alex Kurtzman is in the position. He is a club of his own.
It doesn't matter. That's my point. Is these people never make the right move.
Alonso isn't Alex Kurtzman. She doesn't have J.J. Abrams standing over saying protecting her like that.
And also, I have a very, very hard time believing that anyone, even Bob Iger, would allow them to ditch the worldwide recognized brand name X-Men in favor of mutants, considering what happened with New Mutants at the box office. I don't see that happening. I don't see... Yes, we'll see what happens there. Just seeing that title makes me more convinced that she's been promoted out of harm's way rather than given more power, just by reading that title that you highlighted there, Tom.
Everyone can be cynical. Everyone can be unhappy. We've had several years of damaging stuff. All I can tell you is, if I met somebody with that title, I wouldn't meet somebody with that title, because they're not going to call me into their office for the script idea. Right? That's someone that's much later in the process. That's not somebody that's going to be brought in at the screenwriting stage. I don't interact with people with that title. I always interact with people with creative executive, development executive. I don't, until I'm making something, I don't interact with the production people. And the production people's job is to execute.
And I understand where you guys are coming from, but we got to wait to see what happens with the last because before there's that final moment, before things we can finally say, okay, we're back to business, there's going to be a lot worse shit to happen yet. We haven't seen the worst to happen yet. So that's where I'm still trying to be waiting for that big boom, because there's going to be something else they're going to try and
No, I don't think there's something else they're going to try.
I don't know.
They're going to try the next 6 months with the new big boss in charge is to fix whatever they've got. If they've got Riri Williams coming in this new Black Panther thing, she's going to be like, let me look at
pictures from
All
Miss Marvel
I've
and
seen,
shit.
Tom, is that they're shutting down the things
Yeah.
that they think is going to blow up in their faces.
That's what I see.
And then they have things that are already in development, which are going to blow up in their faces, but they were
I don't
already in
have faith.
development. I see them shutting down things.
All right,
I don't
so
have faith in their intelligence and logic. That's my problem.
Well,
Yeah.
I just don't see it that way because yes, I grumble all the time about the woke Hollywood people. The people I'm dealing with who are woke are the dumbest people I've encountered. There are some ruthlessly smart people that I've encountered here, right? Who are very aware of the market and very aware of their money. It's these morons like we've seen in the last few years that were given unnecessary attention and power that has made us think everyone in the industry is like that. It's still a business. For a few years, we've had crazy people running around messing up the business. But the idea that it's not a business, that's why Ms. Arnold's been put in power. That's why Chapek's been put in power. These are business people. And you can be as jaded and burned from what happened for the last few years. We're coming out of this brief.
It's not even that really, Cameron. It's just the fact that, you know, there's so many of these people embedded like ticks that they're not going to just give up. And that's why I keep bringing up the last and for people who don't know what I'm talking about, that is the moment that all of them know they've lost and that all his hope is lost and that,
well, that's
not
not
gonna
going to
win anymore.
happen.
It will happen at some point, and they will try to damage every fucking thing they can on the way out the door. They will try to burn everything they can on the way out the door, and it's going to
try. But will they succeed when you've got so many people watching on top of them saying, "I need to make money now"? Then use time for resignations, forced resignations, and the firing squad. That's what it is. When you're messing, when we have. There's only people like Iger didn't care about making money. They cared about becoming famous. People like Bob Chapek and Susan Arnold care about making money. They're not going to sit back and go, well, I guess these people are messing around. They're going to get them fired. I mean, these guys are ruthless people. Someone at the Carlyle Group, you don't want to know all the stuff they invest in. There's some shady stuff they invest in, including black ops and things. You don't want to know what these people are involved
in. I'm with you guys on the fact that I want to see more cocaine and capitalism come back in movies. That's the problem. We have too much propaganda bullshit. But unfortunately, you have a lot of people who, like Kathleen Kennedy and other people who are using these other interests to fuel whatever fires they're doing. Like, you know, we got into a little bit back and forth. Andre did the other day about they are doing this shit on purpose. Like they are trying.
Oh yeah, they absolutely are.
But their era is over. They're there.
I hope so, but until I see the
last
I
don't know that the
it.
era is completely over, but I will say that there are indications that they are losing. That they are no longer gaining power. That doesn't mean that the battle is completely won.
I agree with you there, but
these morons will be there.
We need some knockout punches first. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, Ghostbusters was a pretty good punch.
It was a good punch, but I wouldn't call it a knockout punch. It was a nice jab.
And that's fine. So 2022 is where the knockout punches come in. I think, you know, I just think that we are so, I really do believe this. I do believe we are so now, and you know, accustomed to these morons being in charge. They weren't in charge during the first 10 years of my industry experience here. They got in charge in the second 10 years and they ruined everything and they messed with people's money. Now there's going to be a return because this isn't the norm of Hollywood. What we've experienced the last few years is not normal. It's not. And we think that this is the norm, that SJW woke ideology. These people are all limousine liberals. They say whatever they need to say in order to feel good, but they want to make money. And the event that shook them all up was a certain gentleman getting elected in 2016, and that screwed up all their thinking. And they put all kinds of eggs in baskets that they normally wouldn't do. The major change, I'm going to just say one thing. The major change we're beginning to see, that I am seeing with my own eyes, is that the language among screenwriters and industry people is changing. There was an article about this in Deadline this week, about this, how words like Latinx are falling out of use in Hollywood. Hollywood is beginning to recognize that Latinx is considered offensive by most Latinos, and that less than 4% of people who are Latinos actually use the term. And there was an article in Deadline talking about that, and the comments were all people saying Latinx is offensive. I'm Hispanic, I'm Mexican, I'm Puerto Rican. Latinx is offensive. And the amazing thing is, I've started seeing my nice liberal lefty screenwriter friends on various screenwriter boards now using the word Latino. They weren't using Latino 6 months ago. They were using Latinx. the language is changing because they're figuring out that this isn't the direction. I'm seeing people, lefty people, beginning to make fun of the word cisgender and mocking it. I've never seen that before. They were afraid to do it.
Netflix actually owes Naked Fame some money here.
Okay, what's this?
As you see, Andre knows what I'm talking about. We had the Mex-Men before, and then it turned into the Latinx Men. And then Netflix now has a sketch animated series, and this just made Paulie blow a lid when he saw this. Of course, he's
I can't wait to see what Mike says about it, because
he's
the
pissed
one
too.
That really gets is like offended by the term Latinx.
Well, this goes to what Cameron's saying, though. They're now poking fun at it here, right? No, I'm not.
They're aware of it. They're aware. Yeah. And there is a sense of beginning of a sense of embarrassment amongst, again, I can only speak to screenwriters who are lefty, right? And they I'll give you an example. A screenwriter on a board recently, she posted on one of the screenwriting boards that I'm part of, she posted asking people's advice that she had written a screenplay in which all the characters she identified with their gender. None of the characters were transgender. They were just like, here's John, he, him. Like, she would identify that in the screenplay, right? And her agent said, take that shit out. What is this crap? Right? And she was like so offended because she's very lefty. She's like, I can't believe my agents are taking out my gender pronouns. And then gently, the people on the screenwriting board, all lefty, said, yeah, I don't think that's going to work. I don't think that's necessary in the script. Is a character transgender? No. So we're going to presume that John is a him and Mary is a she. Let's just presume that and not put that in the script. They were walking her off the ledge. My fellow lefty, I'm not a lefty, but the fellow screenwriters were all lefty. We're walking her off the ledge saying, this isn't a battle to fight with your agents. Take the pronouns out of the script. I mean, there's a change happening. I'm seeing it. And she was like, I can't believe you're not supporting me on the... They're like, no, we're not going to support you on this. It's kind of crazy.
Because I see the kids out there on the things, and I don't know, they scare me. DS Ford says, hail Tom, Andre, Cameron, why didn't Kevin Smith just do a remake of She-Ra instead of bastardizing He-Man?
Easy.
Because they already did.
He wasn't hired to do She-Ra. He was hired to do He-Man.
Yeah. And they already bastardized She-Ra, so that was already done for him. Kaiju King Gabriel says, greetings, everyone. Listening while at work. Andre, I recommend reaching out to Arch Warhammer. He and Razorfist did a podcast together. His insights in gaming, anime, and movies can be a good asset. Well, maybe that's somebody we'll look into.
Yeah, we'll check into that.
For the recommendation.
And Tom, we only have a comment for.
I know. Yeah, I was trying to get
about 10 minutes.
So exactly. So we're going. Yeah.
And someone said there was someone from Jordan. People are saying Jordan made a.
Yeah, there's a couple here. I'm going to try to get to. I just don't like skipping over them because then I lose.
And I have them all here in words, but yeah.
But
Linja C, or maybe it's Linjach, if it's a name of Slavic origin, I can't say, but for 10 euros for my first super chat ever. I just want to say that I always instantly click on videos and streams if I read the name Kamran Pasha. I wish he would be on YouTube more. Greetings from Germany. Yes, well, you're in the right place. Kamran is here with us every Friday, unless there's extenuating circumstances.
And also, I'd recommend going to his Patreon. You'll get more Cameron there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You got my unfiltered stuff and
exactly
stuff I can't say publicly.
And then Arch just the Kaiju Gabriel adds in that Arch is or Ark is your countryman, and so that could be fun.
Okay, cool.
We'll definitely check into that. And let me see here.
Meanwhile, while you do that, I have one here.
You do?
The Waltman 4 says for $4.99. To Kamran, you might have answered this, but your thoughts on people listening to independent YouTube commentary, like Midnight's Edge, Nick Raketa, Friday Night Lights. So what are your thoughts on the people listening to such independent content?
Well, I think that it all depends on the content. I think Midnight's Edge was one of the best channels, period. It not only is one of the best YouTube channels, I think it's up there comparable with some of the really best sophisticated commentary we're getting out of some business websites, right? And so people should continue to watch this particular site because there's a reason I'm committed to coming on very regularly on this site, because it's a whole other level. I've stated to Andre that I believe Midnight's Edge is going to become a player on the Hollywood level. It's already on the path to be that over the next decade, and it's going to become a bigger enterprise than anybody yet understands. It's going to be part of the leadership of the new information era of Hollywood in the next decade. So people should stay here. I think those of you who are here now are very much ahead of the curve, because Andre runs this thing like a business. This isn't just this isn't just something he's doing for fun, and it very much is setting up to become a major media enterprise. So everyone stick with it. And I think all in general, the future is going to be these kinds of YouTube commentaries. The problem is it's all about quality. Like there's a lot of people out there who are just out there for outrage and clicks, and a lot of people out there taking, stances they don't really believe in, but thinking that it will bring viewership. I think you just have to differentiate and see the ones that are really cream of the crop and they rise. And I think Midnight's Edge is cream of the crop.
Yeah, and we're very proud to have like Nick and Gary as contemporaries, or whatever you want to call it. And
as friends and
friends, yeah,
that we both have had on the channel, and of course also Kamran for his excellent insight. That's what I'm very happy with, and I approve of everyone finding the best of independent content like that, because there you actually kind of like get the truth, because there's not going to be an agenda behind it.
Yeah. You're not going to get any breakdowns from like Harloff where it's, I've been a fan for 5 fucking years, and no, you're not going to get any of that crap.
Yeah, no.
Jordy Lyons, here's one of the ones he really wanted to get your take on. Cameron says, thanks for your financial take on the industry. It's so refreshing to see bare bones explained your masterwork. He wanted to let you know that, and I think he also had a question for you here as well.
Find the question.
Thank you
for that.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Christian Coralejo says for $5, I asked Script Doctor this, and I wanted your take also, Kamran. Do writers flesh out ideas given to them, or do they have to be fleshed out beforehand?
Well, in a nutshell, it all depends on if you're on an assignment for someone else. Generally, when you're pitching something, you come in with your own ideas and try to get the assignment, and then inevitably you're going to get notes from the producer, which is going to present their ideas. If it's your own material, it's your own spec material, stuff that you're creating on your own, then I always advise people to lay out their ideas first and not make it up as they go along. I think making it up as they go along leads to disaster. For the most part, very few people can execute that properly. And, if you come to my Patreon, I just reposted today one of the most important articles I have on my Patreon. I posted it back in August, and I repost it every month because it's so well received. I write down my methodology for how to structure a screenplay or a novel. And it's a methodology I've taught at universities, and it's a methodology I plan to actually put into a book because it's so well received. But it's a very lengthy article about how to organize your ideas into a saleable, well-structured story. So come join me on Patreon, and you'll that's at the top of the list right now. You can come read that article.
Yeah, and then there's one that I cannot bring up on screen. I'm just going to run through it because we only have Kamran for a few more minutes. So just listen to what I'm saying rather than try to find the super chat on screen. Next one for Kamran is from Douglas A. Burton, who says for $4.99, Kamran, how do I contact you regarding writing consultation? I'm curious about your availability and pricing, good sir.
Well, the best way is, of course, come join my Patreon. And on the Patreon, there's discounts. People who join at the sort of $20 a month level get a 10% discount. There are people that are subscribed at the highest tier, which is $100 a month, and are getting a 50% discount, and that can actually be quite substantial because my fees. You can reach out to me through the Patreon, and you can DM me directly there. I've got almost 20 clients at this point from the Patreon, and they seem to be pretty satisfied with it because they're coming back for more. But yeah, I mean that's the best way to reach out to me. Join me on the Patreon, send me a DM. Depending on the tier you come on, you may get a discount, and it can end up being a very substantial discount, and we can work it out. But so far, people seem to be very satisfied with the feedback I'm giving them.
Very cool. And then we also have Paulus Plain, who says for 200 Norwegian krona, Kamran, is the new Disney chairman, Susan Arnold, the customer is always right capitalist type, or is she corporate consumer type? Expected garbage Expect the garbage that is given to you.
Accept it. Yeah, I am of the opinion, and we'll see in a few months. We'll find out. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I am of the opinion, based on her resume and her background, that she is the former. She is the customer's always right capitalist. When she ran Procter & Gamble, this was before this Procter & Gamble, this sort of woke madness, when they did those horrible Gillette ads that were very anti-masculinity, and as a result, they lost $8 billion on Gillette. So this was before that. She ran it in the 2000s, before the woke madness took over. And Procter & Gamble was a very successful company under her leadership. And then again, the Carlyle Group is a big money-making private equity enterprise. They're not there. The Carlyle Group is one of these shadowy, shifty groups you don't know anything about, right? You don't want to know who they're people involved in or what they're investing in, but they're there to make money. They're not, the Carlyle Group isn't out there with a PR method to try to change society, at least not in what they're investing in. So based on her resume, I've concluded, and my opinion, that she's the one behind, she's the Palpatine behind, Darth Vader here, which is Chapek, that I think she is someone very consumer oriented, and she is the customer is always right, just based on her thing. She knows if she doesn't make money, she's out of that club. She's not in the Hollywood club. She's in the rich people making money club, and she don't make money for them. She's out of that club. It's not something she worked 40 years of her life to be kicked out of.
Yeah. And then the Rubber Band Man said for $4.99, Kamran, do you think the Doctor Strange rewrite is Marvel trying to get rid of the woke so Kevin can save his job?
Well, I think Marvel's trying to get rid of the woke, period. Whether Kevin can save his job at this point will be seen, but it's not for him. I think they, at this point, people know when someone's damaged goods. I think inside the company, they know the boss is in trouble. Maybe the boss will survive. Maybe the boss will still be there a year from now, but they know he's in trouble. And so they're just trying to save their own jobs. Everyone's just trying to save their own jobs in Hollywood. Nobody's thinking about anybody else. Nobody's loyal to anyone else. Everyone is loyal to their own survival. And so at this point, they're seeing, in my opinion, they're seeing the writing on the wall with Chapek and now Arnold, that we can't have this garbage in here. They may think Feige might survive this because he's connected, right? But I ain't going to survive this. They're going to need a fall guy. Just like when Lucasfilm started having, at the end of The Last Jedi, who did they let go? They let go of the African-American woman who they had held up as the black executive at Lucasfilm.
Oh,
her, right?
I can't think of her name now. All of a sudden, it just escaped me.
But
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And so all the lower level people are like, I don't want to be scapegoated, because they're going to come, if Feige's safe, I ain't safe, right? And so they're all going to try to clean this up because they know what the new directive is.
Yeah. And then we did have Paulie in the back. I think he wanted to say hello before you left, but I don't know what happened.
I love Paulie.
Hopefully he'll be back before you go here. I'm still trying to find.
Paul, if you're listening, drop back in.
I got about 5 more minutes, Paul.
Dropped out. So yeah.
Meg says Cameron is the white pill we all need, and this is coming from a more black pilled person. LOL. No, and I want to be more optimistic like Cameron, and I know he's, a little bit more closer to the inside, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of stupidity in the last few years, and I know just from watching from the outside that Hollywood never learns the right lessons. They always make the same mistakes over and over again, and if they have somebody with money and influence coming at them, they're generally going to bow down and kiss their ass, because that's just kind of people that are in the industry. I mean, at the same time, though, I do hope that we're on the turn. It's just going to take some more time, I think, than what.
Yeah, and I'm of the view, and I respect Tom's perspective, because I can see a lot of people in the chat agree with Tom, don't agree with me. That's fine, and that's a valid perspective a lot of people have. My perspective remains that the people, Tom is right, they will bow to the people with money, and my perspective is now the money-making guys are in charge, at least at Disney, and they certainly seem to be in charge of Sony, and so they're going to bow to those people, and those people want a different strategy, in my view, and so we'll see over the 2022, I think, will be the revelation of a lot of that.
Well, Luca Rocks actually sends in $10 and seems to agree with you. Says whenever a employee is on the outs, company heads make sure they cannot burn everything down before they leave, and they often do this under the table. Cameron is right. I hope so, but a lot of the people are in the same bubble. That's the problem I have.
I will just give this very quick example. I was on a show where the showrunner was fired. Deservedly so. I actually advised the executives that you need to fire this person before lawsuits come to this, before their behavior brings lawsuits to all of us, right? And so eventually they were fired. But before they were fired, I got an indication that they were going to be fired from very powerful people, and they said, but everything is being put in place before they know. Like, I knew they were going to be fired before they knew they were going to be fired, right? Because things were being put in place to make sure that they wouldn't be able to sue, that if they tried to sue or create any kind of drama, that their reputation would be destroyed and their future would be destroyed. So they had put everything in place before they made the phone call and said, you're out. And the person huffed and puffed and was outraged. And they're like, what are you going to do about it? We've covered this, and this. Try something. Just leave, take a severance and leave, right? They covered their asses because they had to chess game a possible lawsuit, and they closed those doors before.
Yeah. Well, and I understand. I mean, there's NDAs and there's other certain things that you can use, but I'm talking about a whole nother kind of scenario here. But yeah, Cameron, always informative, enjoyable, says Larry. Hail all, and thank you.
And with that, we have gone through all of these super chats that specifically addressed Cameron.
Well, one just came up right now, and I'm going to answer it, which is Cameron's thoughts, predictions on Matrix 4. That just came up, and my prediction is it's going to be a complete disaster. There's no reason for this movie, and from what I'm seeing from the trailer, it appears to be a reboot where I think Trinity is the one. It makes no sense, and if only one of the Wachowskis apparently seems to be involved in it, I think this is a horrific disaster in the making, and I don't think there's any need for it.
And speaking of need, luckily there, Paulie joined us.
Oh, here we go. At last.
Yeah, I was here. Right, I had this spilled all over the darn desk.
So I was wondering what happened. Okay. I was just about to intro you, and you went away. I was like, "What happened?"
Yeah, was all ready for the conversation to continue with Cameron, and I had gotten my coffee ready. But
you got attacked by coffee. I'm your witness.
I'd gotten pan dulce from the corner store that me and Cameron, when he's visited, he's gone over the corner to.
Yeah, that corner store is nice. I actually am still sore. I went over to Paulie's place a few weeks ago, and he gave me a complimentary jiu-jitsu session, and it was incredible. I'd never had done jiu-jitsu, and in 1 hour, Paulie's an incredible teacher, and in 1 hour, I was like, I think I've learned something. I actually think I've learned something here, and I was incredibly sore afterwards.
I can't wait.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be eating.
To do a jiu-jitsu lesson with Paulie. I look forward to that greatly.
Yeah. But listen, I don't know what I'm cutting in on. I know it's Cameron's last couple of minutes, but you're absolutely right about the turn of the tide. Here's what happened when that video came up. That's Netflix's Latin arm called Con Todo. It's Netflix. It is a web cartoon on the superheroes LatinX Men. It is so when I saw it, I was like, the hell with this, and I Twitter hated on it. I should have watched it first.
Okay. I
would never have thought that would be up from Netflix 6 months ago, a year ago. It is exactly what you're talking about, and it's actually really, really good comedy. And it was insightful. I
just want our check for naked fame and ourselves. That's all.
No, man. No, listen.
We made that up first.
Oh, the Latinx?
The Latinx men, the Mexican men, all that shit's us.
Yeah, but Latinos, we come up with so many names, man. I'm not even hating on that. The thing is that
I'm just playing.
This video would not have been made like 6 months ago. Just because they're taking the piss out of what do we call ourselves, and people don't like this and people like that, and then at the same, anyways, Midnight's Edge Espanol. I got the panel together. We did a great 40-minute video on it. That's coming up in about an hour, and but more importantly, Cameron is really on the money, man. Really on the money.
Well, thank you very much for that. That's a wonderful affirmation to get from Paulie, who's got an incredible channel. And if you haven't seen Paulie's own channel and what he's doing the work with Midnight's Edge, he's getting guests that nobody else gets. He gets movie stars. I mean, he gets big people. He gets rock stars. I mean, this is not the kind of stuff you see on normal YouTube channels.
Yeah, we had Danny Trejo not 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danny.
Yeah, you don't get access to that, and he's got an incredible channel, and he's very loyal to his subscribers, and gives them a lot of benefits for being members of his channel. So please join him and continue to support him as well as Midnight's Edge.
But I think there's something to be said And listen, community, and listen, community. What do we have? Like 1,000 people? How many people we have? We got like
We have
Oh my God.
1,714 people
Wow.
watching right now. Everyone
Wow.
smash that like, by the way. We haven't said that, but you're getting great content here. Smash that like, help share the stream, subscribe to Paulie, subscribe to Midnight's Edge Espanol, and of course, subscribe to Kamran's Patreon.
And Kamran,
because I do have to go in 1 minute, Paulie.
yeah, really quick.
Yes.
How important it is for the audience, for the community to keep pushing back.
Yeah.
Because what is unanimous is there is a unanimous super majority of Latinos that don't like that term, and they made themselves being heard anytime a corporate commercial or entity posted something super Latinx, wokey. And I think people, like you said, Kamran, they're really starting to pay attention, because what it comes down to is their bottom dollar. So this web cartoon, I'm gonna say it now, it's pretty brilliant. So yeah, Kamran, thanks, man.
Well, Callan Law says, I wonder if working at Disney is like working on the show Succession. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Succession, but you did work at Disney, Cameron. So I don't know if you can comment on that real quick for you.
It's like working. It's like working in Palpatine's empire. Everyone. I mean, it's like it's like Star Wars. Everyone. It's like if you're a bureaucrat trying to survive inside. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're just trying to survive. It is Disney. Disney is and when I took the job on Tron Uprising, my lawyer called me and said, "Be careful there. It's the most ruthless place in Hollywood." He actually called me to say that it's not a safe place. And I was like, I've worked at pretty ruthless places. Like,
I thought it's supposed to be the most wonderful place in the world.
It's what. So on that note, thank you all.
Take care, Cameron. Thank you
for letting me on. Thank you, Midnight's Edge. Thank you, Paulie, for joining in. Thank you, Tom, for having the fun of disagreeing with me at times. It keeps the conversation good and makes sure that we don't have a monolithic voice, which is Midnight's Edge is a lot of voices, and it's really important. So everyone, please join me on Patreon, and I will be on, God willing. I'm hoping I can join Toxic Femme on Monday, but I'm going to make every effort to be on again next Friday here on Midnight's Edge.
Take care.
Excellent. Thank you so much,
Cameron.
And as Stillian Dickov says, Assalamu alaikum, Kamran.
And you're getting better with it. We're getting you becoming that Viking Muslim. All right,
Hey, Cameron, second annual Christmas party in a couple weeks. I'm gonna get
send me a message. I'm gonna be lovely Latinas there, right? I'm gonna come to that.
Yes.
We're gonna be good. All right, God bless, my friends. Peace.
Take care, sir.
Nice.
And then we got Eric Rung Madsen, who sends a 20 Danish krona and says Disney's lobbying efforts are about to explode. What do you think of that, Andre?
We shall see. We shall see. I mean, Disney has always done lobbying and stuff like that. So yeah, time will tell. And especially now when we have like a change of guard, it'll be interesting to see what kind of policies will be implemented now.
On that note, do you think they'll start stepping away a bit from China?
Yes, very much so.
Why would you do that?
Because I would think that because now you have a complete change of guard. Chapek, the CEO of the company, was not responsible for getting into China. Bob Iger, who is no longer
he was
there.
Mr. China.
Yeah, exactly. And Susan also doesn't have that baggage. They are now in a position where they can say that okay, that's all sunk costs. Now we have to do what's right. And yeah, Tom, feel free to do a couple of super chats. I have to drop out for a second here.
Trots asked the big question here: is Clifford any good? I don't know. I've not seen it. Did you see it, Paulie? Did you see Clifford at all?
I did not, but Diego, Midnight's Edge Espanol, was talking about how it's gonna do pretty well.
Yeah, it's already got a sequel greenlit. It was on streaming and theaters at the same time and still did okay, I guess. So I heard it's already getting a sequel. I haven't seen it myself, but I haven't heard like any major negativity out of it. Like, oh, it's like, whoa, Clifford or anything like that. So I guess that's a plus. I'm sure you're just probably asking out of jest, but just the same. And then Corcio Raven brings up a good point here. Just because someone is LGBTQ plus, LGBT plus Q does not mean they are woke. I have several friends who LGBT plus Q to lesbians, one trans, and they all hate wokeness. Oh yeah, I think a lot of us know lot of people in our lives and family and friends that are probably in the same boat. I've told similar stories in similar situations where I've talked to people about it. So yeah, the Mags brings up the point that if people are expecting that there'll be a public, as in humiliating firing of KK, they don't understand the industry very well. It's always a gentle one. Yeah, I don't think she'll ever be fired. She's just going to retire. Pretty much is what'll happen.
No company wants that.
No,
to be connected to being sexist
or anything like that.
Anything like that.
Well, even take out the sexist aspect. They don't want to be known as the people to have fired one of the most prolific producers in Hollywood, even though she fucked it all up.
There's that too.
Yeah. Eclipse Warlord says Raging Golden. Oh, this is true. I saw this. Raging Golden Eagle's channel has been terminated. Anybody know what the supposed reason is? I've not talked to him yet. All I do know is that from what I gathered, from what I saw, and this is just a cursory knowledge, is that his channel was pulled down over some supposed sexual content. Now, as far as I know, there wouldn't have been any. So I don't know if it's some kind of false flagging campaign or if it was something that the algorithm picked up on. But for his entire channel to be just like that, that's a big deal. So hopefully with the attention that we've all been trying to get on Twitter and stuff, which seems to be the only way you can get YouTube's attention sometimes, hopefully we can help him get his channel back up. But yeah, the best thing you can do right now is just keep retweeting and adding YouTube. I think it's YouTube Creative, if I'm not mistaken. And
you see what Mag said?
I haven't got
in
to
the
that
chat. Inappropriate sexual contact.
Yeah, that's what I
YouTube
said.
Claim. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if somebody flagged something and they went along with it for now, cursory or whatever. But like,
listen, I had the musician on the other night with us, Willie Calderon, and the whole thing. We were playing his music and stuff. I got claimed, so I need to reply saying I have the artist on the channel.
Yeah, all you got to do is say you had permission or whatever,
right?
And then generally
crazy.
They're
just super touchy.
It is super sensitive, but it's my thing is I know he's had like anime and other art and stuff like that on there. Chances are somebody may have flagged something, and
gotcha.
I doubt it was ever anything that was that bad. It's just until somebody nuanced or somebody goes in and looks at it in a nuanced way. Again, the only way it's going to happen is if you get YouTube's attention, and that's all we can really do for now is just keep talking about it. And seems like Twitter is the best way to get their attention. So just retweet our tweets. I know just about everyone in the community has been retweeting it out there. So hopefully they can get some attention to it soon. But I know just from personal experience, it's a pain in the ass to deal with them. So hopefully for RGE's, for his sake, hopefully they get it figured out.
Taken care of. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Corsian Raven says, smash the likes, y'all. Hail Midnight's Edge. Thank you for that. And is Andre back?
Yes, Andre is back.
Okay.
Andre.
So somebody was messing with my screen here. I bypassed the compressor, sends in £49 super sticker. I can't see what it is. I apologize, but thank you for that. Unfortunately, StreamYards doesn't have that capability, and I can't go back in my original chat to see unless Andre has it up on his screen.
Yeah, give me 1 second and I can sort that out for you. I just have to refresh here because that I do have to do because there's no automatic update in the repository behind the scenes. Now let's see, which one was this? You said this was I bypassed the compressor.
I bypassed the compressor.
Yeah. So the unicorn super sticker.
Nice, thank you. And I think we grabbed this, but just the same, I'm going to read it. Costas Lavranos sends in $5 Canadian. Thank you, and thank you also for being a member. Look like a swab mofo if that's you in the picture there. It says Carlisle Group, Glenn Youngkin, VA governor. Guys, she cannot be a part of the same club as Iger. She's a pro-consumer businesswoman. Yeah, I think we did grab that though when Cameron was here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but exactly that's what I mean. Because they come from so.
I hope you guys are right.
That they're not going to be in the same club. We got this one. Well, that was for Kamran, so
I
that
figured
one we
as
got.
much, but
Yep.
just the same. Thank you, Waltman.
Yeah.
And that was just the next one in line. So I'm just kind of moving down the list here. So I
Well, good.
apologize.
That way we get everyone.
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make sure nothing gets left behind and we get them all in the best of order we can.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah, because we do value not leaving any super chat
but
behind. We got this one too.
We will get to the Kevin Smith business here real shortly, guys. So stay tuned for that. I will go into that real shortly. We just want to get caught up with super chats here. In fact, I think some of them even ask about Kevin, so we can probably get into it a little bit as we go along here. I don't think we grabbed this one.
No, that's one we did not.
Forward down to Dawn sends in £5. I think I actually got that one correctly on the first try.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Have you guys heard anything about the new token series Amazon is doing? How bad does it sound like it's going to be? Oh gosh,
you can write that one off right away. It's going to be a disaster.
I would say, yeah, from what we've been hearing, the worst. So expect the worst and hope for the best, but don't get too hopeful. And I know Gary over at Nerdrotic's been covering it quite a bit. I know we haven't really touched on it too much in recent months, but what we know from the Conan side of things, Andre, if you want to
abandon all hope, and it's like it's. Let's put it this way: are you a fan of the Wheel of Time, or do you think that they deviated a little bit too much? Because if you thought they deviated a little bit too much there, then that's just a taste of what they're doing with Lord of the Rings. So if you are at all a fan of the source material, if you are at all a fan of what Peter Jackson is doing, you might want to write that one off right away and just stick with the movie trilogy and the original books.
There's going to be...
and just consider what the Amazon is doing, its own kind of thing. That's not for you, because it really isn't.
There's going to be all kinds of diversity, which isn't a bad thing, but the way they're going to be doing it is going to be really intrusive. Let's see, you're going to have probably gay Sauron, barely legal Smeagol, mass hysteria. So I wouldn't get
gay Ron.
Gay Ron, probably, yeah, just all kinds of business.
Hobbit sex scenes.
Well, wait a minute, but Gandalf was. Oh, I don't want to go there. All right.
Well, in real life, he was, yes, but
but again, here's like the thing. You know how on Star Trek, where the writers were so stupid that they thought because the actor playing the original Sulu, George Takei, was gay in real life. That was a gay actor portraying a straight character. They thought it was a nice and fitting tribute to make Sulu in New Trek gay as well, but it wasn't. It just offended all around. They might be doing something similar here, so don't be surprised to see Gandalf made gay.
It's been like 30 years since I've read any of the books or so, and it's been at least a good 20, because I think I did Lord of the Rings, the first one, Fellowship. I did listen to like the audio version like 20 years back, but just the same, I don't recall them ever bringing that kind of stuff up in the book, but from my recollection from at least the Peter Jackson film, didn't they kind of insinuate him and Galadriel kind of had a thing?
I don't know.
I think they kind of did, but it was like very subtle. I mean, again, but even if you want to read into something like that.
I think anything that had to do with sexuality or sensuality was like completely.
That's not the issue here. It's like that's the least of things. It's the whole thing. This is every bit the same kind of subversion that Masters of the Universe Revelation was.
Yeah, not only that, it's worse because they have no basis to go off of, because they're using things they can't use certain things, and the certain things they can use, they can read into too much. And I know if you go out there and just, there's this like token society business and all this other stuff going on where they're really trying to read into a lot of shit.
Straight as the new gay.
Yeah, straight as the
I'm
new
sorry.
gay. It is true. It is true.
Awesome. Real quick, we're coming up on the 20-year anniversary of the first film release.
That's right. That's very true. I believe it is this month.
Yeah, no, like 17th or.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I remember seeing that opening night. I was so jazzed to see that. But on that note, let's move on to super chats. We got some more here. Revcore sends in $10 and says, if Snyderverse returns, then that is a loss for me. While I'm glad Snyder Cut of JL was released, I do not like that universe and its treatments of the characters. I agree with you, Revcore, but with one contention. I hate the direction they've gone since, sans Shazam was the only one of the newer films I kind of enjoyed. So on that note, it's like the lesser of two evils. Does that make sense, guys?
Yes, exactly. Because here's like the thing: when you look at what the alternative is, what Warner Media wants to do, the alternative is worse. Because basically, they want to Amazon Lord of the Rings it.
Yeah.
I mean, I forgot her name right now. The head of Warner Media. She was like abundantly clear about this, that we want to move away from the Snyderverse and we want to do something much more diversive, where we don't really care too much about the source material, where we just do like the vaguest form of idea and we change it up completely, so it's easier for us as executives to measure on how diverse and inclusive it is, and then we greenlight based on that. That was the alternative.
Yeah, and Sarnoff, that's right.
Sarnoff, yeah. She literally said this. We did a video about it. This is literally their strategy for what they want to do with DC on film. That's the alternative to the Snyderverse approach. So yeah, you may not like it, but then I regret to inform you that the option that you would like is not on the table. Of what is on the table, you're honestly better off with the Snyderverse, or if you don't, just walk away from DC as a whole. But the kind of DC that you would want, you ain't getting. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but them's the breaks. And Mags says, more than 1,500 watching, only 935 likes. Hulk, smash that button. Yes, smash that like. Get us more than 1,000 likes.
Indeed, you do. And then next up here we have, let's see here, we got Grimzilla. That's quite a name. Says, it's a shame because Kate Bishop is very respectful to Hawkeye. She's funny and trying to learn to be a hero. I hope they don't screw this up. Also, how do you feel about that Marvel is making She-Hulk sexy again? Okay, first part, I agree with you. It's like, so far they're handling it well. I hope they stick the landing. That's going to be the bigger question, because we're only got 3 episodes, right? Of what, 10, probably 8, somewhere in that region these shows have been. So there's a ways to go yet, probably. And then the second part, as far as my opinion, I'm glad they're doing the sexy She-Hulk. I've never been a big fan of like the girl version of a character, because to me it's just like a cheap like cash in. But I know She-Hulk is more well regarded as far as that goes, instead of some other characters like just Supergirl and stuff like that, which, have grown on people as well. So I know that's not the best of comparisons, but no, I hope they don't screw this up. It seems like they're actually finally giving Jeremy Renner something to do with the character. And as far as She-Hulk, I have some higher hopes than I used to. But Paulie and Andre, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Paulie?
I haven't seen it, but I want to check it out now on your recommendation. I was hearing you earlier. I was avoiding it big time. I wasn't even.
You got to remember, I was going in expecting the worst, though, too.
Sure.
Sure. But if
I think that's important, because like the first thing that Tom said to me, he was expecting the worst. And like when he said that it's not horrible, that's not a ringing endorsement, but it means that very early on it was able to exceed his expectations. Granted, they were rock bottom, and like what I got is like the more he watched, the better it got, which is good. Finally,
there's actually this kick-ass action sequence. Actually, I wonder if people feel the same way. I thought it was filmed very well. And you can still tell a lot of it's CGI, but I thought it was very well done for probably the where they're at on the level of budget and stuff. I thought, and the way the camera moves, I'm sure it was done in multiple cuts, but the way the shot's done is like in the camera's in the back seat, and it's in one constant shot through the whole chase, going in 360. And it is one of the coolest shots I've seen in a while on a show like this. So I don't know if people who saw it agree with me or not, but I thought it was a pretty cool sequence. So, there's some really cool stuff in the show. It is growing on me as I'm getting through the episodes. Yes.
Well, that's cool, man. I'm totally, honestly, I've been getting through the Beatles. So.
Oh yeah. That was my obsession last week, man.
So, yeah.
Like I was like, every few minutes I had just an extra few minutes, I was watching like 20 minutes of that just till I got done, man.
Yeah, I finally finished part 2.
Oh yeah. That's cool. Like, yeah, I can't wait to talk to you guys about it. I know we're trying to get Yellow Flash and some stuff like that, maybe. So hopefully we get a chance to talk some more about it soon.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a real Beatles fan, so it'd be great to get us in Yellow Flash and hit this is like seven hours of this.
I think it's closer to 8, but yeah.
No, it's boring to people who aren't music aficionados or Beatles fans. I give you that.
It is to a point, but at the same time, I could see somebody who's not a Beatles fan getting into this, because I've heard a lot of people say it is very addictive to watch.
Oh, it's so addictive. Yeah,
because it's like that fly on that wall, on the wall, because he doesn't stop and give you any like talking head interviews.
Nope. Right.
There's no like real context outside of just very rarely will he give you some notes on screen real quick just to let you know who somebody is, maybe, or what's, something that may have preceded what's going on that we didn't get to see, or something like that, just to give us a little bit of context. But other than that, it doesn't set up any doom and gloom or give you any pretense of anything, really. You're just kind of thrown into this month of these guys creating one of the most, as far as I'm concerned, one of the landmark albums of music history, really. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of things we can get into when we get into talking about that on the show, but yeah, it's I can highly recommend that. And it's probably one of the best things Disney Plus has allowed on the service to this point.
Well, yeah, I don't want to deep dive, but we'll save it for another stream. But Andre, the Beatles in that week of Thanksgiving actually boosted Disney Plus's numbers, which is crazy.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great for a documentary about the Beatles. But that only goes to show what a well-produced documentary can do.
And
it's tough to call it a documentary, but anyway,
yeah.
Sorry.
And the fact that the Beatles and Peter Jackson, told Disney, do not touch anything, and they wanted to bleep, they wanted to do this and that. That was a whole thing.
No, it's warts and all.
Yep.
The only editorial choices that were made by Jackson, basically. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, Park, man.
Yeah,
but I want to check out Hawkeye.
Well, hopefully you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Did we get this one, Andre? But
we did get that one, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. But thank you again, Paulus Plain, for that. And then we had this one. I know we got, but I want to say thank you again to Douglas Burton. And then we have, again, I'm so glad they have this, but I wish they had like a separate repository, so it'd be so much easier to kind of not have to do this, but that's all right. Callum Lyle says, I liked the Dinobots, and they got Frank Welker. Frank Welker is a king of voices, my friends. And yes, indeed.
Yeah, he's even a gremlin.
Yes, he is. He was one of them. He was indeed. And you guys probably know the rest. So they were Howie Mandel and what's his face from Police Academy, who played Larville Jones. I can't think of his name now, his real name. Michael Winslow. Yeah, they were the other two. And I think even Peter, the guy who does Peter Cullen, I think even did some too. The guy who does the voice of
Michael Winslow, Arizona.
Is it Arizona's his last name?
That's his full name. Thank you.
Yeah. Dr. Larville Jones, Monsignor Dr. Larville Jones.
Remember him in Cheech and Chong?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Nicholas Horton says news from the Doctor Strange sequel has been leaked thanks to Lego set based on the movie. Yeah. Sent you the link in Twitter DMs, Tom. Well, let me take a look here. While I'm doing that, you can probably get to, I don't know if you can get to the next super.
No, I'm not from where you are, so have a look at that later. And just move
okay,
on.
Yeah, I'm not.
We'll do like
here,
something
right here. I got it right here
later on.
But we'll take a look at that. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody either.
Exactly. So let's just move on.
Yeah, it's nothing like huge spoiler, but yeah, I'll send that on to Andre, and yeah, thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, real fast, I want to give a shout out to the chat and to just got a slew of new subscribers, and I appreciate it, guys. What we do on Midnight's Edge Espanol, Latino Slant, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of grind, but we love doing it. We love doing it. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
I see George Molo in the chat. George,
what's up, George?
Jumped on me here. Shit! Like the whole thing went to the bottom on me.
Sorry.
No, sorry.
Do we need to vamp?
Well, unless somebody can get to the next super chat here, I can get this
No,
one.
well, I can't get to the.
Yeah, bad timing on that one, Jim.
Well, this is
Hey,
as
did you
usual,
see,
so we can go with that. But thanks for the kind words and for the
Yeah.
support. That is much
It's more like my
appreciated.
bad timing on bringing it up on the screen, I
Right.
should say.
Tom, do you see the new Cobra Kai poster?
I did, and it looks amazing.
Looks sick, right?
Sick as hell.
Yeah.
I think this might be the next one. So, but we'll grab this one while I'm just in the process of looking, just in case. But this made me laugh. I did bring this up on the screen, but Mr. Tickle Trunk, our good friend and a loyal wrench, says, "Will you three stop arguing? Come on, guys. This is not. This is supposed to be an echo chamber. Remember, we're supposed to agree on every point and backs." Yes, and that's what we love. Is when we can get into a little bit of discourse.
You know what? We have a few super chats before those, but I'll read through them and go through them here behind the scenes. So then you can just carry from that point onwards. Now, in between that,
Are you sure they're not ones I already got, though?
Yeah. I see exactly where we were. The next one is that Iger said for $5, Feige was dependent on Perlmutter's guiding hand, keeping him from going off the rails. It went south once he was on his own and thought he knew best. Plus, he started listening to the advice of others, like Victoria Alonso. Not a good thing. Michael Millard said for 14 South African rounds, Kurtzman isn't renewed. And stock still is falling. Yeah, Viacom CBS stock is really going down the drain. There's going to be issues from that. Black Wolf Inc. says for $5, Tom, in the early 2000s, we had a lot of war movies due to the war. Then it stopped for lack of interest. Things change due to dropping funds. And then we got the one from Luca Rox already. We got this one, and then it was Mr. Tickle Trunk, and then we are up to speed. Next one being David March.
Okay, I think I don't know if it moved on me again here. I'm trying to find David
Okay,
March.
And then I'll do that one too.
Yep, just read it.
Yeah, and he says for $5 Canadian to give people perspective, Dominion election machines are a subsidiary of the Carlyle Group. For better and worse, that very well may be the case. And then Michael Millard wondered about Kamran's predictions for Matrix 4. He had some predictions, and if you were looking forward to that movie, you better hope that Kamran is wrong on that one, because they weren't any good. I'm inclined to agree with him.
Yeah, I'm not.
GEC812 or GEC812, however you choose to pronounce it, says for $10 Australian, global box office deliberate manipulation used to make some movies seem more or less successful than they are for marketing. G-Ball, Ghostbusters Afterlife, not out till January 1st, 2022, no advertising, but Eternals out the same time as US. Yeah, that's not actually deliberate manipulation. That's different companies with different release strategies. Sony is notorious for stacking their releases unless it's like a really huge thing in conjunction with someone else like Spider-Man. But beyond that, Sony movies are all over the map internationally. Then we had Jim Vatari, who said, great job as usual.
Well, just on that last one, I just want to say, I mean, you're probably lucky that they tried to... They're even trying, because like here we're lucky that they
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Stormwave Media Entertainment Media. We're really hope you don't unsubscribe. We're just backlogged like you have no idea, and we will get to you in a minute. So please stick around, my friend.
Yeah, I know the mods have been. Hopefully they've been letting you guys know we're like way back in the chat. Like I'm a half hour behind in the chat yet, so. It's going to take us some time to get caught up. We're trying not to leave any super chats behind, guys. So please be patient with us, and we will catch up as soon as possible. And speaking of, right here it is.
Yeah, and he says for 20. Actually, this was next. And he says for $20, any word on Brandon Routh Kingdom Come HBO Max? Legitimately, there is news on it. And HBO Max has let people start debating it on their Facebook page. And people seriously are asking for it and want it. So it is real, I know. Well, hype is real. If the production is real, it could be. They have many different things in development. I have not taken a deep dive into DC for a little while. Right now, I'm focusing on things Marvel. And things He-Man, because that's the videos we're working on right now. But we'll get into DC before long. Right now, I don't have any more details on that. Do you know any more?
No, I know there was a planned animated Kingdom Come that never came to be. Not trying to be punny at all.
You punster.
But I would not be against this if it was true. I mean, if I was to throw in my 2 cents, as far as I'm not on their Facebook page or anything like that, because I hardly know how to use social media as it is. But if I was going to say anything or vote on it, I'd be like, yeah, give it to us. I'd be all for it.
Excuse me. I'm a big Brandon Routh fan, and I think it's great to see him get coming on back.
And he never got a chance to be Superman, really.
Never got a chance to be Superman, but likable, and I liked him in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. But yeah, sorry, I don't have any information on this.
Yeah, this is kind of the first I heard about any live action, if it's live action anyway. But I know they had been working on an animated version, and if they had gotten him involved in some way, that I'm not surprised. But otherwise, would it be something that would be CW related at all? But you said HBO Max, so I don't know. It could be interesting if it's like they did say though that they were going to be doing more straight to HBO Max movies, because isn't that like where Blue Beetle and a few other projects are falling into?
Yeah, which maybe when it was announced, what seems like a demotion, but HBO Max now is it's really getting rocking, with their content. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Well, I don't see anything wrong with more like they don't necessarily have to have big major movie stars and big huge budgets, and if they can do a decent style Kingdom Come story, I'd be all for it. So yeah, if I hear any more though, I'll definitely talk about it.
I hope for it. I mean, that way we might get von Bach on screen. And he's on screen. He's one of my favorite characters, mostly because I'm a huge fan of Leibach, and von Bach is visually inspired by Milan Fraus, the lead singer of Leibach, one of my favorite bands, whom I've seen live many, many times. It's always great.
Well, Kingdom Come has always been one of my more favorite graphic novels, and I've always kind of wondered when we were going to get some kind of version of it on screen. So, yeah, if I hear anything more, I'll definitely comment on it on Mead. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Stormwave. Then we got HVP, who says, what film did you enjoy more after a second viewing? That's a good question.
That's a very good question, actually.
Quite a few. Actually, quite a few. Probably
That's
more
like a
recent.
Different stream.
Yeah, it is almost. But more, I mean, to keep it like succinct or short or whatever, probably the more recent films. Like I loved Ghostbusters Afterlife so much the first time, but I loved it even more the second time. Because I got to actually just sit back and enjoy it, because I already knew all the surprises and stuff. I just got to soak it all in. Other than that, in more recent memory, probably Endgame, believe it or not. Because I was kind of like, yeah, it was pretty decent, whatever, on the first viewing, but I enjoyed it a little bit more in the second viewing because I watched it because everybody's just talking about how bad it is. Like, I don't remember it being so bad, and then for some reason after the second view, I'm like, yeah, it wasn't nearly as bad as I even remembered it. But then again, maybe on the third viewing I could be wrong. What about you, Paulie? I know you watch a lot of movies too. So.
I'm in the minority here. Many Saints of Newark. I think I've seen it 3-4 times. Son of Monarchs, which is an incredible movie on HBO Max. You just fall in deeper and deeper. And as far Dune is great second and third time.
Yeah, and as for me, Batman v Superman. That's one. I thought it was completely unwatchable in theaters, the theatrical cut. And then, now granted, I never saw the theatrical cut again, but I saw the extended cut, or rather the director's cut. So maybe it doesn't really count because it's different cuts, but I came to appreciate it a whole lot more upon second viewing, and that appreciation hasn't decreased since. So yeah, I'll go with that one.
There you go. All right, and then we got Darren Hughes, who says, Tom, Andre, and Paulie, I'm a relative newcomer here. Well, welcome, and thank you for also being a member, Darren, but I've seen you around.
Awesome, thank you.
What are your backgrounds, and are you industry insiders? Well, okay, first of all, as a member, you get to check out the Beyond the Edge series, which Andre has been putting out periodically, where you can get kind of more in depth in that. But the short version, let's start with you, Paulie. What's your background, and are you an industry insider?
Well, if I was, I wouldn't tell you guys.
Oh, smooth.
No. Background, just to keep it brief, music, a Latin music writing background, covering a lot of bands and albums, and from the 90s on up, and then just through that, meeting a lot of great people and still staying connected to them. And Miss Slant, the fact that she's an actor in the business and knows some good people, and who has helped us, honestly. We would not have gotten Trejo at the end of the day. All these people go back to Miss Slant. So
yeah.
Hail.
Basically, you're connected. We can say that you're connected.
Yeah, hail Romy Diaz. Yeah.
But you yourself personally, what's your personal background, real quick? Just a little bit about you.
That's how I'm going to keep it.
That's all you're going to say? Okay. All
yeah,
right.
yeah, that's good.
You're good with the karate.
Yeah, I'm good with karate.
Yeah, no,
Like,
well, basically,
like
put it this way: that you're from LA and you're connected. We can leave it at that without going into more details. Tom, you're from distribution. What can you say?
That's what you say, but actually, I was a pimp, and I ran 12 whores out of Vegas for 20 years. No, I'm kidding, of course.
It was.
And
I was your best earner.
I
was your best earner.
He was my best. He's right. Like, look at that's why he don't want to talk about his past. See, that was the point. But I'm gonna blow it up right here. He was my top hoe. Like, he earned all the monies. That's why he's here still today. No, you see that chest, man? That made me a lot of money. No, I actually started out in radio, believe it or not. Through school, I hate using the word prodigy or whatever, but like I started out in, like, they thought I had some like mental, like not mental issues, but like learning disabilities. And it turned out I was just excelling in other areas. And then so they put me in a bunch of programs. So I was like classically trained in acting and singing and all this other shit. And then I got into radio for a while. And then I got out of that and went into video. And I got to know people through mom and pop shops and owning my own video store, and knowing some people through Warner Brothers and other places, because Warner Brothers handles their own distribution, and actually knew somebody who worked directly through them and all that kind of stuff. So like a lot of that kind of stuff, and through there, just, getting to know other people and growing and growing and growing. And then I became a single father. So like working just tons of jobs while trying to do the YouTube thing led to this. And that's kind of how I got here. That's the short version anyway. As far as being an insider, I've always been kind of on the outside of the outside skirts of things, but I know people on the inside. And I mean, just go back and look at our interviews. That kind of speaks for themselves as far as like, it's just, some people, and sooner or later you get a hold of somebody kind of thing. Andre.
Yeah, my background is that I'm a financial analyst, and my background is banking and finance. So it's more like the corporate world, more like the corporate Game of Thrones, and analysis of that. That's where I come from. That's my background. So basically what I do is, like, I'm not really of Hollywood, but I'm of the investment world. And some companies, they invest in commodities, some invest in Bitcoin, some invest in pharmaceuticals, and some invest in films. It's the same basic rules and processes throughout the whole thing anyway. So that's kind of like what I do, that I merely take my analytical approach that I usually reserve from the world of finance, and I shift it to Hollywood, because that's where my interest lies. That's kind of like where Midnight's Edge started out, in a way. I'm not an insider per se, but like Tom, I know people, and I've come to know many more people since starting Midnight's Edge. So I do get a fair bit of inside information, although not like I don't know it directly, but it comes to me second and third hand.
And 6, she was joking at this time, but you're not far off. Like, in fact, like I got through most of my high school life by like, I got the exception. Like I got to make video projects and do other things when all the other kids had to write out essays and shit. It's kind of weird. And yeah, there was some dance in there too, but mostly musical, not so much the dancing aspect. Tennille says that Bat Tom needs his Patreon of some kind. Well, I'm sure we can actually work on getting Bat Tom to do something for Patreon. That's not a problem at all. I'm only a person who get in between that is Andre. But I think he understands.
Yeah, well,
some people love
all
Bat
you
Tom,
have to do is pitch me a show.
Well, I finally got an idea for the next Bat Tom short. Let's just say Kevin Smith inspired me in so many ways.
Oh yeah,
especially with his little double mask thing. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah, no, I haven't. But we have a few more super chats to run through, so let's do that.
Nelson Sharita says, Andre, it could have been Amazon's Conan instead.
Yeah, bullet dodged there, because here's like the thing. Wheel of Time that you're seeing right now, that was the project that they went with instead of Conan. Had they done, like, in the alternate universe where they didn't do Wheel of Time, it would be Conan premiering in these days, because literally that was Jennifer Salk's choice. She decided that we're not doing Conan, or maybe the choice was taken away from her. We do not know that in detail. But then what we do know is that once Conan was clearly not happening for whatever reason, they went with Wheel of Time instead. And judging from the response to it, boy, did we dodge a bullet, which we know that they did. Because that show was fantastic in its conception, but Amazon wasn't going to allow the show as it was conceived to actually happen.
Right.
Laddie says Conan was too manly for Amazon.
Pretty much.
That's exactly what happened. That's literally exactly what happened. It was Jennifer Salk. She read the script and she apparently was like shaking and in tears and everything due to the toxic masculinity on display and how to do it all. So she was like almost traumatized from reading it.
Yeah, she needed a safe space, so instead she went and ruined the Wheel of Time.
Yes, and actually the reasoning for it, and I've heard this from other people associated, was that Conan was inherently too toxic masculine, whereas Wheel of Time was already somewhat female-centric, and they could make it really female-centric real easy. That's why they went with that.
Yeah. And then Tennille says, 20 years. Thanks for making me feel old, Paulie. There you go. And then our good friend George is in the chat. I should say the chat thing here. Let's do that.
Stop wasting my time.
I don't know what he sent for a super sticker, but
I do. It was like a little yellow child running around frolicking.
I just want to sing to George.
Go ahead, sir.
$49.99.
Please do.
You know what I want. You know what I need. Give me some money.
That's Spinal Tap.
I know. Well, he's so nice for him to give us money. So I'm like, give me some money.
Yeah, if you're not busy, George, feel free to hop in because we're going to talk some Kevin Smith here real soon. He was on with us last night when I was talking about that. Blue Dan Bob. I think I said it right. Blue Dan Bob. There we go. Says, thank you for bringing back the Daffy Duck blew up in his face gag in the recent Kevin Smith video. Oh yeah, Andre likes to pull that out once in a while.
Yeah. I decided that. Oh, it's been a while now, so let's write it in.
I should have also threw in there where he was bitching and complaining with the "you're despicable and impeccable" and that stuff when he's yelling at him. Yeah, that's pretty much how Kevin was acting. Let's see. Morgan King says, any words on the new Stargate? Not since we've last spoke about it. Just know that there is something in the works. As far as I know, I think it's supposed to pick up. Or wait, wasn't this supposed to be the reboot thing? I can't remember now. There's so many of these things going on all at the same time, and Stargate is not one of my jams so much. I don't know if anybody in the chat remembers better. But there was some news going around about the reboot or whatever it was supposed to be, but no new updates, Morgan. And I'm sure you've probably heard a lot of the newer stuff. And considering you're a bigger fan than I, you've probably kept up to it. But so I know, I think like the original showrunner or something like that is supposed to be involved from the old TV show or something to that effect. But I could be mistaken. I might be remembering something else as well. But yeah, if anybody in the chat knows a little bit more about the Stargate business, please feel free to help update on that, because I am not as up to date on the Stargate stuff. And Andre is away, and I don't know what he knows about it. So,
not a lot. I haven't heard any updates for a while. So yeah, we'll keep you up to date as we learn more.
Yeah, and I don't know if
there was one iteration was planned, then there were behind the scene changes that changed.
Right.
I don't know what's happening right now.
Last I knew, and this is me just trying to remember because of the whole MGM Amazon thing. I know there's supposed to be something for Amazon, but yeah, that's all I kind of remember. Tennille says DC has worse luck than Charlie Brown. Gypsy curse. Ouch. I think it's just a simple fact that they have no real leadership. They have no real vision. And when they do that, and they've gone forward the way they have without any real sense of direction and change course as many times as you have, you get things like Justice League. I mean, that's kind of where we've gotten. And we're still kind of dealing with this similar kind of situation as Disney, where you got different ideologies clashing, one being the Snyderverse people and the other side being the Hamadaverse people, or whatever you want to call that stuff. So I don't know if I'd call it luck so much as just people not knowing how to work together. What do you think, Paulie?
Awesome. Sorry, having some dog.
I was gonna say everybody's having issues. I got a dog.
Doggy issues.
Andre's away with kids, and I'm still.
Okay, I'm back.
No, it's cool, man. It's cool. No, it's fine. Preston Bruno says review for Santa Inc. animation 10 out of 10. Some CGI for the eyes and mouth, background jokes, best part of the show. 8-10 dialogue. Show 8 out of 10 dialogue. -2 out of 10. It's Ghostbusters 2016 with cursing.
Well, okay. Well, I'm sorry, Preston. Thank you for the $5, but Ghostbusters 2016 -2. There were no good jokes.
No, I know. I think that's what he's kind of. Yeah, I don't know if
there's no good dialogue.
Well, he's saying the dialogue is no good, but he's saying the background jokes and stuff like that in the animation is really well done.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying here, Preston. And yeah, we were going to talk about that today, but we had so much on the docket. We'll probably hold off on that, or that'll be a Mead discussion more so. But like, yeah, the whole Santa Inc. business is just
yeah, I'm not going to see that.
Oh, I don't plan on seeing it either. But the whole story kind of, the whole story really kind of goes down to what Sarah Silverman and what's his face are saying out on Twitter and stuff.
I don't even, to me, it's about Die Hard Christmas. Who's with me?
I'm with you.
Die Hard, baby.
Die Hard's definitely,
or even Bad Santa, or even the Kurt Russell Santas. Were those Christmas Chronicles? What was it called?
The Kurt Russell one. Yeah. I haven't seen that yet, but I've heard they're pretty good.
Oh yeah, those two are really good. And then Bad Santas, but Die Hard, baby. The best thing that we could do is completely ignore those fools now, because when you give them attention on social media, the production doesn't care whether you like it or not. You're talking about it. I'm just saying, man. Anyways,
there you go. And speaking of talking about it, Trotz was actually serious about Clifford. He says, Clifford and Jess, nope, I've got 2 small kids. Well, yeah, actually, then if you're serious about it, I'm glad to hear it, because I've been hearing good things about it. It's just not something on my radar. My kid's grown up, so gladly I don't have to dive into that kind of stuff too often if I don't want to. And Clifford's never been one of my jams, but I think I heard somebody saying that, yeah, it's not woke and all these other things, and it was pretty decent. So glad to hear people are enjoying it. And DS Ford gives us a big George. Mecha J says Mega Man live action adaptation is reportedly headed to Netflix. Unsurprisingly, the reaction to the news I've been seeing has been a disappointment. I saw this morning, but we didn't get a chance to really look into it. I wonder if the bigger reaction is just because it's Netflix is the one who's handling, or because I don't know enough about what's going on to understand where the reaction is coming from. But I do know that people don't get too excited when Netflix announces they're going to do something, because their track record thus far has not been very good. What do you say to that, Paulie?
Geek Tropology. I think he finally found the top of his head, because it blew up this morning when you heard about it. So I got to back up Geek Tropology and the real fans of Mega Man. And the live action adaptations have not been they're just the track record. I mean, the short track record, right? Cowboy Bebop was just bad.
Well, it's just not that. There's Death Note and all the other ones they've done too. So like at this point, I can understand where people are like, but I don't know enough about it. So Andre, I wish you was still here, because that was something I believe that was on the Sega Mega Drive, wasn't it? I think so. That wasn't a Nintendo exclusive, was it? I'm trying to remember. It's been so many years. Jason says, leave Mega Man alone. Then I see the other one here. Somebody put an X in it. Here it is. Yeah, it's going to be Mega Mix.
Oh, man. But, again, I think the thing is the fact that all these are failing.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop live action failed. And to make it even worse, I was watching for the first time with the anime that Netflix has next to it, like, consider these the original one. It's like, all right, I'm just gonna watch the original one because it's so damn good.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about Kevin Smith. Even though I wanted to get into this a little sooner, but now that we're all caught up on Super Chats, I believe, if anybody thinks we missed one of theirs, please let us know. But I believe we caught all of them now. Let's see here. Oh, except for Diego, who fired one in here at the last second. Says, Diego, we were in a call and I muted myself and turned off the camera to curse for 20 seconds straight. It was in Nintendo if we talk about Mega Man X series. Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if it was just a Nintendo property or not.
That's we were all on the same call.
Oh,
and,
okay.
They freaked out. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, speaking of freaking out, seems that Kevin Smith freaked out on me yesterday. I gave some of the breakdown on this, but I don't know what happened. In the middle of editing our recent video, all of a sudden I was grabbing tweets for the video, and I couldn't get any more because Kevin had seemingly blocked me. And I'm not surprised. I'm not sad. I'm not upset. I'm not hurt. I guess I'm more disappointed than anything, but at the same time, I kind of brought this up earlier. So my feeling is, I think what happened was he just probably went through, and those who had a lot of retweets and likes on negative opinions of his, recent tweet about there not being any negativity towards the second part of, or the criticism has gone away for the second part of Motu Revelation. Anyway, I should say that, everything's happy-go-lucky. But yeah, surely we see how it's a happy-go-lucky for him. He just blocks everybody. So like, whatever, it is his thing. I don't think it was anything personal. I don't think he really knows who I am or anything like that. So, like, I'm not like trying to be like egotistical about it or anything like that. Because clearly, if it was something to do with the channel, he would have blocked Andre and Midnight's Edge as well. And I highly doubt I've been on his radar or anything like that. The closest maybe was like from when I tore up his poster on Friday Night Tights. I mean, I know plenty of people who know him, so I'm not saying it's above the realm of possibility, but I'm not trying to say that he knows me in any way, shape, or form. So I believe that's the reason, was just because, he saw so many people responding and retweeting and liking my tweets. So I was just one of the people that got the axe from him. I don't know if you have any opinions on this, Paulie. You're pretty much the only one we haven't heard from on this so far. So
no, I didn't know that. I didn't know that he blocked you.
I mean, it's not going to stop me from seeing his shit if I really wanted to. It's not like I'm upset and crying in my cereal or anything.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, he was a hero to a lot of us with the stuff in the 90s, and
I think Andre wants me to make a video on this. I'm just not sure how to approach it, but that's more inside baseball than this. But
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, the fact that I saw that first Twitter last week or whenever it was, a few days ago, he's like, "Oh, I'm getting more love this time around." Shows you, just how much he is paying attention and cares, because he got a lot of justifiable heat from the part one.
Yeah, and we talked about this last night on Midnight's Edge After Dark, and I think Andre and I agreed with no. I was just going to say, I think Andre and I agreed that, to this point, Kevin has always kind of had his own little fan base, right? And he's never really dipped his toe into the big arena. He made Cop Out, and that's kind of the closest he came to big studio movie making. And that was not a great experience for him, I'm sure. And that's probably the closest he's come to that experience until now. But see, Masters of the Universe is a completely other level.
Which is why we I just want to cut it, which is why I loved him back in the day, because he was part of that 90s independent filmmakers.
Right, and he has been a hero of mine growing up, and I mean, he's even part of the reason I'm here. I've made no, I have not lied about that since day one, and I even stuck up for some of his ways and things that he does many times over. So that's not even a secret either. I mean, I've always liked his movies. I've loved his movies. I even like some of his lesser films that people don't like, because I loved his voice. I loved his direction. I loved his writing. I just loved his humor. I got his sense of humor for many years, but he is seemingly somebody who's changed, and I really don't think he understood the gravitas of the situation he was in when he stepped into the Motu arena. And unfortunately, I think he's been lost to the dark side now. So, I mean, again, like I said, I know people who know him, and they've all kind of said the similar things to where it's like, yeah, he's not the same guy he used to be, and all that kind of shit. So I'm not totally surprised. Like I said, more disappointed than anything. That's the term that I think I could attach to this most of all.
It happens to our heroes.
Well, he's just insulating himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Peter Smigelski says, I've been watching the Cowboy Bebop side by side. I don't see why it's getting dissed on. I've only seen 3 episodes. Why is there hate on the live action? I can't speak to that too much, Peter. I do know a big part of it is some of the changes they've made in the characters, though. But go ahead, Paulie, if you know more insight on this.
Well, my only insight is that I'm like you, Peter. I'm watching them both at the same time for the first time, right? And they're, the original Cowboy. This is a lazy American remake of a visionary Japanese tale on Americana, and basically a Western in space, which even had a lot of Southwestern tinges into it. It was, and Cowboy Bebop, the anime, just in feeling and in depth and what they didn't say and how they conversed with each other. It's brilliant. Here, you say watch the first 3 episodes. The first opening montage is this fight that they're having in the casino for Tanaka. Sorry, spoilers, guys. For Tanaka, which you've seen before, and you've seen it done better in Fifth Element or in a Tarantino film. By now, it's like 30 years of, or let's even go back to Bebop, like over 20 years of references of witty crime dudes, saying witty things while they're, shooting bang, 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 and they're talking about their taxes, or, it's like, we've seen that. And they opened up with this, and it's not in the original. It's talked about afterwards between the two guys, between the two bounty hunters, and they're not really bounty hunters in this one. You really don't, feel that they are. Faye Valentine's character is introduced completely differently. It's a completely different, just introduction in the live action. That is, it's modern for all the lamest modern ways. She comes in, I'm just as good as bounty hunter as you are, and let me kick you in the balls. Great. We haven't seen that before. Whereas in the anime, it's brilliant how she's already manipulating men and getting what she wants. She's a femme fatale, but she's this, she's that. I mean, thanks for the $10 so much, Peter, but in my opinion, it's just not even comparable.
All right, there you go.
Okay.
No. I thought you were just letting you finish up. Trots, I have very little to add because I've not seen either yet. So, unfortunately, I just don't know what you guys have been saying, and I know there's been some other people who've been covering it already. So, when I actually get to it, though, I do plan on talking about it, but I'll probably end up missing the boat on a lot of it. So, I hope that I do enjoy it when I get to see it, though. At least the animated version, that is. Trot sends in £5 and says, Kevin S., at least we have his old movies from the 90s. Love Dogma and Mallrats. Post heart attack, he found his own muse at it hell. I'm not sure what he's trying to say exactly, but I think, and I get what you're saying. It sure ain't Salma Hayek is what I think he's trying to say. This is true. Yeah, that seems to be a big turning point in his life. That's for sure. That's hard to argue. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Paulie, or if Andre's back yet, but yeah.
He was a boy from Jersey. He had an edge. He had a voice. It was coming from that of a clerk nerd, but it was fantastic. It was fresh. And just like you said, he got some success, moved out to, got all the furnishings of success, and he's been out here. Then he had the heart attack, which really affected his life. I'm always, I'll always have a place for his older stuff, but I don't, that's all I can say I don't want to, I'm going to keep it gentlemanly. I don't know if Tom went away.
I'm here. Sorry.
Well, I don't know where I have to step out for a minute.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's wrap this up, guys, because I don't think I have much more to say on Kevin that I didn't say last night, or I might put in a future video. And Sadie keeps bugging the piss out of me to go out because, of course, she has to do this because Andre's away. But we're reaching the 3-hour mark anyway.
Yeah, it's a great show. I have a show right now on my channel. Come on over. We're gonna talk about this Latinx cartoon on Netflix. Cool. Please come on over right now. It's a lot of
awesome fun. So let's drop that link in the chat there, Paulie, so people know where to go. And also check out the Latino Slant. Check out Cameron's Patreon. Check out Midnight's Edge After Dark, Midnight's Edge Espanol. Check out Andre's latest editorial on He-Man. Other than that, just take care of yourselves and each other. And I believe it's time for Koalas in the Rain.
Nice. Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koala, koala. Koalas in the rain. Koalas in the rain. No fucks given. in the rain.